How are you feeling? How long have you been here?
3 months, May 17th.
And what brought you?
That's difficult to answer.
I'm not clear. How is it that playing the piano for people has eventually resulted in your being here in the hospital?
That's difficult to answer.
inside my head of crying people facing death. Is this the end? Is this the end? Oh, I'm burning in the stone. There's no place to hide. I'm burning in the stone. What have we done to the world? What have we done to the world? I'm burning in the stone. There's no place to hide. I'm burning in the stone. This is the final
Who the fuck is Karlyn? She's just some sweet lady. She's like in a knitting. She does like a knitting stream. She's like a knitting YouTuber. She does knitting.
Can we grow up a little bit and
Alt
not
Girl
be
sent $200.
retarded?
Have you
Please.
seen the work of Karlyn Borysenko? Anti-commie cult leader and is obsessed with looking at what actual far-left communists are talking about and organizing today, infiltrating them. They infiltrated the universities, schools, media. She has the receipts to back it up. Primary source evidence. Infestation is dire and she calls Republicans idiots eating slop. Agree.
Thank you for the big super chat. Yeah, oh, I know Karlyn B. She's solid. She's funny. I
The
like
great
her.
noticer sent $200.
Literally.
So
not
it's,
Ian.
it's not because I haven't dangled my junk into the combat zone on purpose to get some camera footage, but that's the big part of what's the
Is
problem.
that what you call reporting?
Go
and live
under if
streaming?
you're going to do it.
Yeah,
go
seriously.
undercover. Otherwise, you're wearing a hunk of meat in a lion's den. Nick Shirley, I love you. Take care of yourself, man. Karlyn Borysenko went undercover. Do stuff like that. Like if you want to expose this thing, don't pariah.
But
Please.
Ian, here's and I agree with you to an extent.
And I've learned a lot from Karlyn Borysenko, who goes in undercover with the left. And I've figured out from looking at her work, like when I first saw her stuff, I was like, oh, she knows what she's talking about. I need to like connect with her. And she actually, the first time I got assaulted in 2025, followed me and sent me messages. And she checked on me for months, just privately. It was so nice to have somebody like, are you okay? But I could tell she knew what she was talking about, and I subscribe to her. I look at all her stuff. I've learned so much, and I thought I knew a lot. I've learned so much.
I watch these streams, and I've been watching a self-professed fascist named Karlyn who drinks and basically roasts these live streams. But weirdly, she has apparently embedded herself with Antifa before. And so it's such a funny stream because like...
So they tolerate her?
Oh, no, not anymore. She like... No. She's like... I mean, I don't know if she's trolling or not, but on her stream, she's like, I am a fascist.
Right.
So she's proudly proclaiming she's a fascist. I don't know how much of that is trolling, how much of it is real, but conservatives who are drawn to her stream will say things like, these people are funded by George Soros. And it's the funniest thing because she gets so mad. And she's like, get off fucking Fox News. Stop watching that shit. It's all wrong. Do these people look funded? Do these people look like they have money? They're not funded. It's so, and I guess her bigger point is by saying these are funded agitators and not saying what they actually are, which is anti-capitalist revolutionaries, you dilute what's really happening. Because what's really happening, according to her, and I think a fair amount of people, is that the economy is so fucked. The middle class is diminishing so much. The cost of living is so high that this is the perfect soil you need if you wanted communism to grow anywhere.
What's up? What's up? What's up, everyone? Happy Tuesday. Happy Tuesday. Is there anything going on today that we should be aware of? Conservatives and right-wingers having a massive, 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 massive meltdown over something that was never going to happen anyway? Listen, I remember distinctly the first time I was ever truly attacked by the MAGA tards. And it happened in 2020, believe it or not. But before we get into that, let's give out some W's. We got Focus In with a gifted channel membership. W's to you, my dear. Thank you so much. We have I Am with a gifted channel membership. W's to you. We got Chica Lago with a gifted channel membership. I love it when people give out gifted channel memberships before I even start the stream. It is the best. They're the true heroes of the chat, getting us started off strong. So hopefully we make our way towards our channel membership goal. So back in 2020, when I was a Democrat that left the left, which was a true story, that did actually happen. It happened in 2019, but I became like famous for it in 2020. Prita, W's to you, my dear. Thank you so much for the gifted channel membership. You rock. You rock. And so I didn't really, I was so naive. You like, for people who are newer here, you have no idea how naive I was when I got into politics. You have no idea how naive I was. And listen, I was really into politics in college. And then for a few years after college, I was really into it, but it was Democrat. It was not socialist. It wasn't any of this crazy stuff. It was like, I was just really into like politics like a long ass time ago. And then when Obama got elected president, my brain completely turned off to politics and I stopped paying attention. I didn't want to do it anymore. I was focusing on my career. I was focusing on different things I was doing in my life. I did not want to be involved in politics day to day. So I just stopped paying attention to it. And it wasn't as though I was really involved in politics like all that much before. Oh, wait. Oh, wait. Oh, wait. Look at this. Look at this. The stalker's back. The stalker's back. Let me just take a screenshot and send this to my husband so I can chat with him about it. I am cousin to Victor. I feel like I am betray him, but you must know he is have affair with long distance girl in hometown here in Ukraine. What they are communicate through Skype and she sends sexy pics. Okay, Victor's cousin. What is Victor's hometown in the Ukraine? Okay, Victor's cousin. What is Victor's hometown in Ukraine? Riddle me this, Victor's cousin. You think my husband is having an affair with Ukrainian girl when he just became an American citizen and has only been back to Ukraine literally once in 20 fucking years since he's been here and has no desire to go back to his country at all? Riddle me this, Victor's cousin. What town is my husband from? We're waiting. We're waiting. We're waiting. You should really know this. You should really know this. Thank you, Mike, for the channel memberships. Appreciate you so much, bro. Appreciate you so much. Yeah, this is another, like, wasn't, like, Skype doesn't even do this anymore. This is another excellent point, Sam. They discontinued Skype for this. So are you sure that they're using Skype, or is it... I'm still waiting to find out. Well, I am not want to dox. Well, I am telling you to dox. I am telling you to say where my husband is from. You have permission to dox the town that my husband is from, and then you're still gonna have to deal with that little problem of the fact that you said it was Skype when Skype doesn't even do that anymore, and they stopped providing that service. So you get one last chance. Where is my husband from? He was only from one town. He lived in the one town his entire life. Where is my husband from? If you want to come on my channel and claim you're his cousin and he's having an affair with sexy girl in Ukraine who sends him pictures. Final answer? Final answer? We're waiting for the town that he's from? Oh, it'll dox you? He's from Nikolaev, you fucking retard. It'll dox you? He's from Nikolaev. So, I'm very sorry, retard. If it's true that it'll dox you, then you're fucking welcome. But I think we both know that's not the case. Permanent ban from the channel. Obviously, we cannot suffer losers here who are trying to get my husband and I to get a divorce. I mean, quite frankly, if I'm being honest about it, if my husband is looking at sexy photos of women in Ukraine, I actually don't even give a fuck. You want to know why? My husband hates Ukraine. He never wants to go back to Ukraine. He's only been back to Ukraine once in 20 years since he came here. So I have absolutely no worries that my husband is going to leave me to jet off to Ukraine because some whore sent him pictures of her boobs on the internet. I have I love my husband. I love him very, very much. He's not that motivated. He's motivated for some things. Like, he's not going to go out of his way to go back to his country that he doesn't want to live in order to see boobs. My husband is a big fan of my boobs right now. If I'm being honest about it, the weight loss has, we always had sex. It was never an issue, but like, there's more now for sure than there was, because he's also lost weight too. And, I'm just saying. So, if Victor wants to look at Ukrainian boobs, I don't really care. Have fun, Victor, and then come up to bed afterwards and it'll be fine. That's how I feel about it. Anyway, apparently, people trying to convince me my husband's having an affair on me is more important to right-wingers than the fact that they have been whining about anchor babies all fucking day. And can I tell you, this was the first time I ever really got attacked on the internet, was when I said to Trump supporters in 2020, they're never going to strike down that anchor baby thing, right? That's never going to happen. That anchor babies are never going to be banned from the United States, right? And I'll tell you what, I got attacked so badly by conservative retards who swore up and down, this is unconstitutional, like, it was so ridiculous. It was so crazy. And so I tried to tell you, conservatards, I tried to tell you in 2020 and you started attacking me and calling me a liberal. So it looks like anchor babies are staying based on the Supreme Court decision today. And I don't think any of the smart people in the room were surprised by this, because it's a pretty clear fucking plain text reading of the Constitution. And you may not have approved of how they wrote the Constitution. You may not like how they wrote the Constitution, but it is how they wrote the Constitution. And there are a couple Supreme Court justices that tend to do plain text readings of the Constitution. So it doesn't matter how much you cry. It doesn't matter how much you scream. It doesn't matter how many people you lie about. It doesn't matter how many times you defame me because you're working out your feelings because you're not a true adult and can't emotionally regulate yourself. Doesn't matter how many fucking memes you make. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The anchor baby thing, the birthright citizenship thing, was never going to get overturned. It was never going to happen. They were never going, Trump's executive order was never going to stand. That is what I'm trying to say. It was never going to stand. Old sub! WCU, old sub! Thank you so much for your generosity. Plague Doctor emojis in the chat for old sub. We love you. 20 gifted channel memberships. Appreciate it. I don't think it will. I don't think this is going to radicalize the right. You want to know why? Because the right are retarded and have no real values. Now, here's what's going to happen. They're going to cry about the anchor baby thing for the next several days because it's the beginning of the week. They're going to cry probably until Friday about the anchor baby thing. And then come next week, the influencers are going to be pushing some other bullshit outrage, and they will forget about the anchor baby thing entirely, and they will just move on to whatever the TV tells them to think. Oh, you were making a funny? You were making a funny? Okay. But that's what's going to happen. Can we just be honest about this? Conservatives are going to cry. They're going to work out their feelings. They got lied to and brainwashed by their media for years, who swore to them that the anchor baby thing was going to happen, and that we weren't going to have anchor babies anymore, and no more birthright citizenship, and Trump fucking lied about it too. And then the Supreme Court comes in and says, actually, Trump, this is pretty fucking clear. Sorry. And people want to blame Amy Coney Barrett for this. What the fuck about John Roberts? You want to put all the blame on Amy Coney Barrett? Okay, she can take 50% of the fucking blame. Why are none of the conservative retards who are saying this is why women shouldn't be in leadership positions? You know who was actually the deciding vote on this? John fucking Roberts, the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, who was appointed by a Republican. John Roberts was not appointed by a Democrat. John Roberts was appointed by a Republican. Okay? So can we all hinge into reality here for a moment? And, I don't mind seeing conservatives melt down about Trump making a stupid decision with Amy Coney Barrett. Although listen, I don't think she's as bad as some people do. I think that she actually does give a rather plain text readings of things. And I actually, I don't hate her. I don't actually really care. If I'm honest about it, I actually don't really care either way. But what, again, it's whose fault was it really? It was Trump's fault. And, conservatives want to say the Supreme Court destroyed the country today and blah, 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 blah. Trump appointed Amy Coney Barrett to the Supreme Court. Trump forced through the nomination. Does anyone remember this? I remember this. This is Trump's fucking fault. Sorry, this is my favorite Karlyn. I appreciate that. And so, I think we're going to hear crying and complaining about this anchor baby thing for a couple days, and I'm just going to try to ignore it as much as possible. And then the conservatards are going to move on to something else, and they're going to forget about this. And then if anyone brings it up again, they're going to be like, well, we tried, but we lost, and we took our toys and went home. And it's sorry. That's what happens. But another thing that happened today, which was so odd to me, was that Enrique Tarrio is still fucking talking about me. This low IQ subhuman of a purported male variety, but I'm not even too sure about that because he acts like such a whiny little bitch on the internet. Enrique Tarrio is still fucking whining about me. Still? for people who don't know, Enrique Tarrio is dating, her official name is the Blonde Whore. By the Blonde Whore, I mean Right Side Rebel. Right Side Rebel is the blonde whore from Portland. And she pretends to be a journalist, but really, for people who didn't watch the Portland protest streams, like, basically this blonde whore showed up and just started, like, all the time shaking her ass in front of the camera. And then that was really distracting to the young men who were on the ground trying to, like, video stuff. And then they started filming her all the fucking time. And basically what I heard, and by the way, I heard this within about 15 fucking minutes of actually landing in Portland and talking to people. What I heard is that Right Side Rebel, the blonde whore, fucked every single MAGA influencer that showed up outside the ICE facility. And I do know the names, and I'm not going to say them because I'm on okay terms with one of them, and I don't want to shame him anymore that he already probably is ashamed of the fact that he stuck his dick in that fucking level of crazy. But she fucked everyone. And this was like common knowledge that she fucked every single MAGA influencer. And then Enrique Tarrio comes along, the last man in line to fuck the blonde whore. And he shows up and gives her a bouquet of flowers and said, "Baby, I'm going to take good care of you." Apparently, that's just the type of girl that Enrique Tarrio wants. A blonde whore who has fucked every other MAGA influencer outside the ICE facility, and then Enrique Tarrio shows up with a fucking bouquet of roses and says, "Baby, I'm gonna take good care of you, girl." And so ever since I was, not being too inconspicuous about the fact that the blonde whore tried to fuck every MAGA influencer at the ICE facility and probably succeeded, she got her then boyfriend, and I've heard they're engaged or something like that. Like, I'm sure that's gonna work out real fucking well. She got her boyfriend, who we will now call Last in Line Enrique, to start coming after me publicly. And Enrique Tarrio invited me on his podcast, and I told him to fuck off, basically, and then they just kept bugging me, and so I was like, okay, I'll do this, and I knew I was being set up, but I fucking did it anyway. And then Enrique Tarrio proceeded to try to spend the entire fucking podcast lying about me, defaming me, because he is a simp to this blonde fucking whore. And I feel like I successfully destroyed his ass on that podcast because I did not give that asshole 1 inch. And he kept getting the stories wrong over and over and over because his retard producers didn't properly prepare notes for him. And it was even so funny. At one point, you can see him flipping through the notebook looking for notes. And I know he had people in his ear trying to feed him information about me. And he still couldn't get me to shut up and stop calling his girlfriend a blonde whore. And by the way, just so everyone knows, Last in Line Enrique is the leader of the Proud Boys, By the way, haven't Enrique Tarrio and those retards been spending more time attacking me all year long than they've been attacking Antifa? How many times have I actually gone undercover with Antifa this year? And Enrique Tarrio hasn't done shit. But, like, they want to attack me more than they attack Antifa because Enrique is a retard who has decided that the blonde whore of Portland is just the thing that he needs more than anything else in the world. Anyway, I tell you this story to say that I hadn't even thought about Enrique Tarrio probably in months, mostly because I blocked his ass, because why would I interact with this retard? And for some reason, he is still tweeting about me. Because yesterday I posted a picture of a groiper that I saw at the airport, and some of the groipers weren't happy about that, and they were reeing in my comments. So I blocked a bunch of young groipers who have, by the way, apparently the young groipers think that I hate Nick and America First, when in fact I've actually been supporting Nick Fuentes longer than they have, which is a whole other thing. There's like this whole new crop of groipers who are fans of Nick Fuentes who don't know shit because they're so new and they never bothered to learn. And I'm pretty sure that Nick hates them. And I'm pretty sure that all the old groypers that I'm actually friends with, because I am friends with many groypers, but they're not the ones that just came around in the past couple of years. I'm friends with like the groypers that have been there for a minute. And they treat me just fine, and they weren't coming after me on Twitter. So Enrique Tarrio is all excited. He sees all these young new groypers attacking me on Twitter because they don't know who I am, because it's not like Nick and I collaborate or do anything together. We just know each other and we're cool. That's it. And I've supported Nick ever since October 7th. And Nick has followed me on Twitter for a long ass time. We've been cool with each other for like a long ass time. I'm one of very few people that has not stabbed Nick Fuentes in the back since October 7th of 2023 because I believe in what he's doing. But a lot of the newer groypers don't know that because I kind of pulled myself out. I was even for people who don't know, I was a VIP in Nick's last half pack. Like, I've been to Nick's events, or one of them anyway. So a lot of the people who just came and became fans of Nick recently, like in the last year, they haven't really heard of me. And it's not like because I kind of pulled myself out of like all the groyper stuff that I was in, because I used to be involved in a lot of groyper group chats. I used to be way more embedded in that whole space than I am now. And it was no shade on Nick that I pulled myself out of it. It wasn't because of anything wrong with Nick. It was because I needed to be able to focus on what I was doing. And the groyper space is overwhelming. So I haven't really been as involved in it in the past year and a half. Not because I dislike Nick, but because I'm trying to focus on something else. And in that time, a lot of new fans came in and started to appreciate Nick, and they don't know who I am, which is fine. A lot of them have no reason to know who I am. I'm not complaining about that. So if I post a picture of a groyper, which I took a picture of a young white man who looked like he was college age, who looked actually really put together, and said, oh, groyper sighting at the airport. The groyper in it looked fucking great, by the way. Like, this is like super like good advertising for the groypers. Like, young white man, in shape, not fat, wearing an America First hat, wearing a Prayer Works t-shirt. This is like groyper fucking marketing material right here. So I posted that on Twitter, and then all the new groypers got upset at me and they started attacking me. And now Enrique Tarrio thinks he's accomplished something, when in fact what Enrique Tarrio doesn't understand is the old groypers, the groypers who actually have influence with Nick, they all like me. They all like me, and none of them are attacking me. And for the record, just so, actually, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to like docs. I'm going to like docs. I shouldn't do this, but I'm going to do this because I want to prove to the groypers, and I want to prove to Enrique Tarrio how ridiculous he is about this whole thing. Hang on. Give me a second. Let me find it. I'm going to like docs. It's bad. You should never like docs, but I'm going to. So this is the post of the young man that I saw at the airport, like that I took that picture. That was me. And so let's just go to post interactions. Where the fuck is it? Activity. Nick Fuentes liked the post. So for all the I'm doing it. For all the groypers that are fucking complaining, for all the groypers that are crying in my replies, you Nick this, and they're even calling me a pedophile because I took a picture of a young man sitting in a fucking public place. Like, do you even know what my job is, retards? Nick Fuentes liked the tweet. So did Chief Trumpster, who is awesome and who you should always be paying attention to. Okay? So, I'm so sorry to disappoint you, Enrique. I'm so sorry to disappoint you. There is nothing that is happening between me and the groypers or me and Nick. I still support Nick. We are still cool. The best groypers are on my side on this one. And, you can pretend that I'm like having some sort of like, thing where they're attacking me, but that's just the newbies who don't know what the fuck is going on. And I can just block them and get them to shut the fuck up. And it's really not that big of a deal. So Enrique Tarrio is still obsessed with me. He's still fucking that blonde whore. And you know what? Whatever, man. Whatever. I don't really think about him most days. Can we talk about something serious for a second? Can we talk about something serious? Guys. Conservatives and MAGA grifters and paid narrative shills like Azra Nomani and Data Republican have announced that the Trump administration is going after the funder of the far left, Neville Roy Singham of the CCP. For over a year, Trump's been saying, we're going to cut Antifa's funding. 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 We know where the funding's coming from. We're going to RICO them. And now finally, they've made their big announcement that they are going after Neville Roy Singham and the CCP because they have proof from the DEI hire, Data Republican, that this is the funding source for the left in America. Does anyone in the chat want to explain the problem with this already? Does anyone in the chat want to take the time to prove that you are smarter than the Trump administration and the FBI? And explain, let's pretend that someday someone in the Trump administration smartens up and they actually start watching my content. Can you guys show them how much smarter than them that you are and explain to them why going after Neville Roy Singham is not actually going to cut Antifa's funding? Can anyone explain it? The left isn't funded like that, you massive fucking retards. That is not how Antifa is funded. That is not how Antifa is funded. They are funded by mutual aid. They are funded by mutual aid. So you can go after Neville Roy Singham all you fucking want, but you are not going to cut Antifa's funding, and there is no way that this is going to slow down anti-ICE activism or anything else that's going on. And you know what's even more insane about it? Their own data proves this. The evidence that Azra Nomani, intrepid Fox News reporter who basically gets almost nothing right about the far left. So she's basically chief propagandist for it. Don't ever listen to anything fucking Azra Nomani says. Azra Nomani is absolutely crazed and is a propagandist. It's all narrative. She doesn't know what the fuck she's talking about. So if you ever see her name, just read with the awareness that you are being lied to by that stupid, dumb cunt. Okay? If you actually look at the chart, in Azra Nomani's own post, this information by itself proves that they are not going after Antifa. They're not even going after the Party for Socialism and Liberation. That's the craziest thing of all. The whole connection and the reason that these people are obsessed with Neville Roy Singham and the CCP is they've been saying he funds the Party for Socialism and Liberation. Well, guess what? This chart does not show that. So not only are they not cutting the funding for Antifa, but the DEI hire, Data Republican, her own fucking model that she did with bad AI analysis, doesn't even include the Party for Socialism and Liberation on it. And I'm going to prove that because when most people look at this, they're literally just going to look at this chart and they're going to see all these lines and spreading out. And then that's it. Look at all those lines, guys. This chart must be amazing, right? Now, I want you guys to notice something about this. Look at how they only flash the names of the organizations on there for 2 seconds. Look, at the very end, there's 2 seconds where you see the names of the organizations. How many people do you think paused the video there and then actually took the time to read the names of the organizations? I did. Do you think that the average Fox News viewer is going to pause the video on that exact spot and then actually take the time to look at what the data says and read the names of the organizations? I don't. And that is why I made sure that I actually got the names of the organizations. Here's the screenshot. Let me tell you what this says, because I know it's really small, and there's a reason it's really small, because they don't want people reading it. On this first one right here, it says Neville Roysingham through 2 companies, Mooted and Likewise Conceptions. So here is the origin point of the Neville Roysingham myth, okay? He is funneling money from these companies into Tricontinental Ltd, the People's Forum, Justice and Education Fund, and Breakthrough Media. Now, the People's Forum is tangentially related to the Party for Socialism and Liberation. There are several groups in this little cohort that are basically run by the same people, but they are separate groups. And there are some people that only work in one place, and there are some people that work in another, and there are some people that specialize in one thing because it's like their little pet project. These are basically just allied organizations where they all work together. The groups involved in this little polycule are the Party for Socialism and Liberation, the People's Forum, which is an event forum in New York City that hosts socialist educational events, Breakthrough News, which is a media organization that does on-the-ground coverage that is particularly friendly to these types of people specifically. And then there's something called the Answer Coalition, which you're going to see show up in this chart. The Answer Coalition is like an anti-war like protest organization or whatever. And then tangentially to this, you have Code Pink. Code Pink is also the one that pisses conservatives off because they're the ones that interrupt the congressional hearings to cry and like all that stuff, okay? So all of these groups are related, but they all do separate things as well. And they all work very nicely together, and there is some overlap between these organizations. And I want to make sure this is clear. But the People's Forum, and I'm not sure how Justice and Educational Fund fits in here. I've never heard of that before. People's Forum and Breakthrough Media are 2 of the organizations that are getting money funneled into them, okay? Now we have United Community Fund, Union de something fucking Spanish in South America. Okay. So the Justice and Educational Fund is sending money to an organization in South America. I don't care. I don't care. We got another gifting from Focus. W Focus, thank you so much for the gifted channel membership. Thank you so much. Let me add that to our tally. 25% to our goal so far. You guys are the best. Oh, I almost just ended the stream on accident. Ooh, that would have been horrible. Okay. So we have that they're funneling money into some fund in South America. Progress Unity Fund. I don't know what that is. I've never heard of that. Pomegranate Global, which is a contractor. Never heard of that. People's Welfare Association. Never heard of that. People's Dispatch Ltd. Never heard of that. And the People's Forum. Okay, so there's the People's Forum again. PPK NewsClick Studio. Contractor. That kind of sounds like that's international. National Alliance for Human Rights. Never heard of that. London Recruits Firm. So something in London. Justice and Educational Fund. Okay, so that's the same as the first one. Independent Media Institute. Goldman Sachs. I don't know what the fuck that's about, but I don't really think that Antifa works with Goldman Sachs, if I'm being honest about it. Florenstein Fernandez National School. That doesn't sound like it's in America. Cultivar Institute Civic Awareness Foundation Center for Pan-African Media. That doesn't sound like it's in America. Breakthrough News. Okay, so we already knew about that. Association O something Spanish O. That doesn't sound like it's in America. So already we have all of these organizations here who kind of seem like they have nothing to do with America, for the most part, with the exception of the People's Forum and Breakthrough News, okay? Then over here, these organizations are funneling more money into Tricontinental, even though they were back here, so this chart doesn't even make sense, Sub-Saharan Africa, South Asia, South America. None of those sound American to me. People's Forum again, Breakthrough News again, and now we have the Answer Coalition. And the Answer Coalition was another organization that I said was related to this whole polycule environment. What is not listed on this chart? Does anyone in the chat want to point out which organization is not listed on this chart to receive funding? Not Antifa. Antifa's not an organization. They can't do that. Deets! W's, good sir. So appreciate the gifted channel membership. Very good, Reagan. Where is the Party for Socialism and Liberation? Where is the Party for Socialism and Liberation on this chart? Well, Karlyn, we know they're connected. Then why aren't they fucking on the chart? The Answer Coalition is smaller than the Party for Socialism and Liberation, I promise you. They're only listing some organizations on the chart. Well, if Trump is making the case and Fox News is making the case that they're going after the Party for Socialism and Liberation, shouldn't the Party for Socialism and Liberation be listed on the fucking chart? They're not even listed. Their own data does not back up that the Party for Socialism and Liberation is funded by Neville Roy Singham. Their own data does not come to that conclusion. Someone also said in the chat they don't see the DSA on here. No, because the DSA is funded by dues. The DSA is funded by dues and fundraising. We know exactly how the DSA is funded. They are not funded by Neville Roy Singham and the fucking CCP. So you're telling me that that the Trump administration is going to get the finances of the far left when this is not how Antifa is funded? There is no indication that any of these organizations on this entire chart are funding Antifa. By the way, Antifa fucking hates the Party for Socialism and Liberation. They write about how they hate the Party for Socialism and Liberation. They have stickers about how much they hate the Party for Socialism and Liberation. They call them the paid protesters because Antifa doesn't like that the Party for Socialism and Liberation won't engage in violence. It's on their fucking publishing website. But the Trump administration has never bothered to read CrimethInc like we have. So this is not going to affect Antifa in any way. This is not going to affect the Democratic Socialists of America in any way. This is not going to even affect the Party for Socialism and Liberation because the Party for Socialism and Liberation isn't even on the fucking chart. So don't tell me that the Trump administration is going to get their finances any day now, because this is all smoke and mirrors to shill a narrative to their audience that is not real. And I hope people can see through this. I'm not the one that forced Azra Nomani and Data Republican to put out a chart claiming that they're going to defund the left when the Party for Socialism and Liberation isn't even listed on the chart. I didn't force them to do that. They did it on their damn own. These are the people currently advising the White House. And this is why I have no hope that the Trump administration is going to do anything to solve the problems I care about. And that's just the way it goes. That's just the way it goes. Raleigh Fox, did you give me more memberships than I gave you credit for? Did I not even see this? Am I crazy? Am I fucking crazy? I think I only gave you credit for 1 membership and I think you gave me 5. Dr. Raleigh Fox, even more amazing than I already thought he was. Even more amazing. Up to 30 channel memberships. That's rad. That's rad. Anyway, so because the Trump administration isn't going to do anything, I'll do it. I'll do it. Don't worry, guys. I'll do it. Now, as we get into our main event, people are like, Karlyn, shut the fuck up and show the video already. Okay, I'll get there. Let me cook, all right? Originally today, we were going to watch the trans liberation rally from last year. Because you know how I went undercover at this crazy queer thing on Sunday that I told you guys about last night, and we watched some video from my undercover journey last night? Well, there's another video from last year at this event. And I was originally just going to do that because I actually haven't watched this yet and I want to watch it. And this is, I think we're going to see just as much crazy shit in this video as we saw in the last one. But I took a look at this guy, Andy. And Master Shake, you're going to fucking love this. Master Shake, you're going to die. In a good way. I look at this guy, Andy, and I'm like, Andy seems to be filming far left events. What else does Andy have on his YouTube page? What else does this random queer Antifa person have on his YouTube page? And I go to his homepage, and right here, fighting MAGA and the far right, a presentation from Chicago 5 months ago. Now, does anyone remember Tom Alter? One in the chat, if you know who I'm talking about, when I say the name Tom Alter. 2 in the chat, if this is a new name for you and you have no clue who Tom Alter is. It's okay not to know things. People are new here. Tom Alter is one of my greatest achievements of my career. There is almost nothing that I am prouder of than the fact that last year I became the first person since the McCarthy era to get the tenure of a college professor revoked because I recorded him being a communist, calling to overthrow the government, and I released it on the internet. And at first, conservatives didn't really care that I recorded a professor at a taxpayer-funded university in Texas named Tom Alter. Hang on, let me get some visual aid up here. There we go. I recorded Professor Tom Alter at the Revolutionary Socialism Conference in September of 2025. This was a secret recording. They did not know I was recording them. This was a several days long spy stream. In the presentation that I recorded Tom Alter giving, he called to overthrow the government. I clipped it. I put it out on the internet. I also sent it to Harmeet Dillon, the Assistant Attorney General of the United States, and I said, Harmeet, do you want to do something about this? And this is when Harmeet Dillon told me that she cared more about my use of capital letters than she did about a communist college professor at Texas State University calling to overthrow the government. Ted Cruz also didn't give a flying fuck, by the way. I had several conversations with Ted Cruz's office about this, and he didn't do shit. In fact, not a single Republican politician in the entire state of Texas spoke up about the fact that a taxpayer-funded professor at Texas State University was openly calling to overthrow the government and advance a communist society in the United States. Not one single Republican politician. Not Greg Abbott, not Ken Paxton, not Chip Roy, not Brandon Gill, not Ted fucking Cruz. No one. And Harmeet Dillon, Assistant Attorney General of the United States, told me she cared more about my use of capital letters than she cared about this. And that's when I posted that bitch's DMs on Twitter, and I said, if you think the Trump administration is going to stop the far left, you are insane. They care more about my use of capital letters than college professors at taxpayer-funded universities calling to overthrow the fucking government. But I have the best community on the internet. And we just started making fucking noise about this. And we started sharing it everywhere. And we got it into the hands of local media in Texas who actually published the story. And then the New York Post picked it up, and all of these higher educational institutions picked it up, and it was awesome. And we got Tom Alter fired from his job. And we got his tenure revoked. First time since the McCarthy era that I have been able to find, and maybe someone can fact check me on this because I did a lot of research about this. There has not been one single time since the McCarthy era where a college professor's tenure was revoked. That's a big fucking deal. And he was fired from his taxpayer-funded job, and he appealed, and the left was protesting me all year long, and they did entire presentations crying about me. They literally did. We watched it live on the channel. They did a whole cry presentation about how mean and bad I was to record them, and they complain about me ever so often about it because they know I'm doing this. And it didn't fucking matter. We won. They lost. That asshole lost his job. And this is me holding a piece of memorabilia that I got at a socialist event in the Bay Area that Tom Alter's defense committee was actually exhibiting at. So I actually have that physical button of Tom Alter being made a hero of free speech because I got his commie ass fired from Texas State University. Back to this. So earlier this year, I was thinking about going to Chicago. Obviously, I just went to Chicago this past weekend. But I was thinking about going to Chicago earlier this year because I had heard that Tom Alter was going to do a presentation at a socialist bookstore in Chicago, the one that I went to the other day, talking about how to fight MAGA and the far right. It is. That is Pilsen Community Books. It is. It is. That is the Antifa bookstore I went to on Saturday. And so I was thrilled beyond measure to find out that this random Antifa account on YouTube recorded the presentation with Tom Alter in which he went and complained about losing his job because of me. Because I didn't think there was video of this event, and I wanted to go so badly, but I didn't feel safe doing it. I was like, Karlyn, this might be just a step too far. You're going to go into a socialist bookstore where you got that asshole fired and expect not to be recognized. I just didn't think that would be a good idea. W's Focus, thank you so much for the gifted channel membership. And today, we're going to watch the presentation. So massive W. Massive W. I'm so excited to watch this. I'm so glad you guys are here with me to watch it. This is a presentation that took place at an anarchist bookstore in Chicago that I was at like literally just the other day. This is called Fighting MAGA and the Far Right. This was premiered on January 19th, so this is about 5 months old or 6 months old, whatever. It's relatively new. How do we defend ourselves and organize against ICE, academic oppression, racism, and attempts to silence us? A conversation with leading scholars, activists, and organizers about the long history of repression in the U.S., featuring Tom Alter, purged from Texas State University for his political views. You're welcome, Tommy. You're welcome. You're welcome. Can we get a bunch of L's in the chat for Tom? W me, L Tommy. W me, L Tommy. Yeah, true. I did that. Yeah, I did that. And there's a whole bunch of other people too. So let's see what happened. And this is great because I was actually in this bookstore a couple days ago. So guys, when I tell you that that Antifa and the far left has all of these bookstores all over the country, this is what I was trying to explain yesterday when I was showing you some of my undercover stuff. These bookstores are not just bookstores. They are educational hubs for the community. They have events there. They have social activities there. They have book clubs there, all that good stuff. So these, like when you find a radical revolutionary socialist bookstore, you are also finding a meeting hub of the far left. And you can go in there and you can find out what meetings are they having, like what other groups are in the area. They will always have billboards. They will always have free stuff that you can take, like pamphlets and newspapers and stuff like that. You can find far left zines in these places, so you can really see like more of the Antifa stuff that you're really not going to find anywhere else but in places like this. So I highly recommend everyone at some point go find a radical revolutionary bookstore near you and just go in and look around. Go in, look around, play dumb. Look at the stickers they have on the wall. Look at the books they're selling. Look at the pamphlets that are hanging up. Look at all of the stuff they have, because you're going to start to see what is going on in the area by the view of like going into one of their favorite places, the bookstore. Okay? So let's get this party started. That's the same girl that girl behind the counter, that's the same girl that sold me $100 worth of zines on Saturday. Look, everyone's wearing a mask.
Thanks for coming tonight. It's a real honor to be part of this event. My name is Bill Mullen. I'll be kind of emceeing this tonight.
We've seen him before.
This really critical discussion in a week.
He was at the Revolutionary Socialism Conference, right? I'm pretty sure. Yeah, he's part of Socialist Alternative, I think. We've seen him before. Yeah, he was at the Revolutionary Socialism Conference.
The horrors in the United States, where we're going to talk about how we can start taking some power back against these forces that have been taking the lives of our people, pushing our friends and neighbors out of the country, going beyond our borders to make life miserable for our friends and comrades in the parts of the world that we love and cherish. So two thanks before we start tonight. First, please give it up for Pilsen Community Books. The greatest bookstore in the world that has have it done.
Yes.
And
that's pretty great bookstore.
Give a shout out to the people of Pilsen in this community. They've been showing us how to fight and how to lead. And that's part of the conversation tonight. It's part of the action tonight, is to learn from others how we can actually win in this moment of crisis. But I actually want to talk a little bit about their activist organizing work. All of them are thinkers and all of them are doers. All of them interpret the world and try to change it, which is why we're here tonight. So our first speaker will be, and we're going to go alphabetically, more or less. It's Tom Alter. If you could just put your hand up. Tom is sitting at the end.
I'm so excited.
Tom has become known to us as a fighter for the right to think and speak and work, especially as a socialist in the United States. He's going to talk a little bit about that.
Oh, he's a socialist in the United States. You don't say. Oh, he's a self-professed socialist. He's not even trying to hide it, guys. He's not saying I'm a democratic socialist. He is a revolutionary socialist that wants to overthrow the government. Does anyone want to remind themselves of what Tom Alter actually said? You're going to see me when I had a lot more weight on me. This is going to be crazy for people who... Tom Alter. Does anyone want just a reminder of what Tom Alter actually said? Do. No, I need Tom Alter. Why are you not bringing it up for me? Uh-oh. Hang on. Where is it? Hang on. I'm going to find it. Got it. Okay. Just for people who weren't here when I blew this shit up on the internet. And first of all, W.me, weight loss. W.me, this was back in September of last year. This is me today. For everyone, I love this too, because for all of the retards that it said for years, Karlyn uses filters, they said this about me for fucking years. They were telling people for years, Karlyn's using filters, guys. Well, if I was really using filters back then in September, then why the fuck why wasn't I using better fucking filters? Why the fuck wasn't I using better filters? Idiots. Idiot. This was about 70 pounds ago. 70 pounds. Yep. Anyway, my weight is actually not the most important thing in this particular case. As a reminder, W. John, thank you so much for the channel membership. Really appreciate it. I don't even know how to use filters. That is like the craziest part. It's like people are accusing me of having all these advanced filters like for every single thing I'm like, bitch, my camera is duct taped to my computer monitor. You think I know how to use filters? My camera is duct taped to my fucking computer monitor, okay? Let's listen to the clip. This is what happened. This was Tom Alter's free speech.
My name is Tom Alter. I'm a member.
Hang on. Little Miss W's to you, good sir. Thank you so much for the gifted channel membership. Really appreciate it. Well, yeah, HT uses filters, but he does it in a funny and comedic way, okay? Except for that monkey one. That monkey one's fucking horrible. You shouldn't do that. It's wrong. Racism is bad. You shouldn't do that. Anyway, listen.
My name is Tom Alter. I'm a member of Socialist Horizon.
Recording in progress.
I'll say it again. My name is Tom Alter. I'm a member of Socialist Horizon in San Marcos, Texas, and also a member of the Texas State Employees Union, affiliated with the CWA. As anarchists, these insurrectionists explicitly reject the formation of a revolutionary party capable of leading the working class to power. Without organization, how can anyone expect to overthrow the most bloodthirsty, profit-driven, mad organization in the history of the world, that of the U.S. government?
2 minutes, comrade.
Thank you. As Steve mentioned, a revolutionary party needs a revolutionary situation for the working class to win power. We are not in that situation now, though it may be coming soon, as the crisis of capitalism only continues to deepen and capitalists look to war and fascism to save their profit system. If we do not build a revolutionary party now, this is surely our future. What we do now is incredibly important. We must educate ourselves and others in Marxism and the history of class struggle. We are by no means just a reading club. Our tasks are laid out in the Communist Manifesto. We must participate in the struggles of our class, whatever they may be, from joining union picket lines to defending trans people. And then, as communists, connect these numerous struggles of our class into a fight against the source of our oppression, capitalism. Through struggle, we can win reforms along the way, giving confidence to our class. This is how we build a mass party. Reforms are not enough, though. If the working class is not in power, those reforms can be lost, as we have seen in recent times. We must build a revolutionary socialist party now, so that when a revolutionary situation arises, the working class has the tools and organization it needs to take power. To conclude, have confidence, build workers' power, be a firebrand for a socialist horizon. Thank you.
Recording stopped.
My favorite words ever.
Thank you,
Recording
comrade, and
stopped.
excellent timing.
Hey, Tom. Is it true that Texas State trains the most public school teachers in the country? I remember that stat circling around like a couple years ago when Texas State was getting all like the shit that it always gets for being like like the lesser school in Texas.
Yeah,
I remember somebody saying, yeah, exactly. But I remember somebody saying, I remember like that getting circulated around that it like trains like the most public sector teachers in the country.
That it definitely is for Texas, because that's what it was It was started as a teacher school. Actually, that's what Lyndon Johnson went here. Yeah. I can't wait till the day when we tear down the Lyndon Johnson statue on campus as well. Yeah. But yeah, so then Texas State's grown. It's now like the 19th largest school campus in the country. So that would kind of make sense that it could be in training for teachers in the country. So I haven't actually heard that, and they usually do kind of trumpet those statistics when it is.
Yeah.
But we do a lot. That's most of my students as well. A lot of them are education majors. So
history education. Oh,
yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So, what did we learn in this clip that I secretly recorded last year? And by the way, they wanted to. So the excuse that Tom Alter gave was that fascist clipped me out of context. Except that when I released the clip, I also released the full clip of Tom's remarks, and you can still find that on the Substack. You can still find it on Twitter, all that stuff. The full remarks, so that anyone can see the full context, was always publicly available. And so Tom Alter went around crying that I clipped him out of context and he didn't know that he was being recorded on a hot mic saying that most of his students were education students when he was a communist calling to overthrow the government. Okay? That is why Tom Alter got fired. And so I wanted people to have that kind of background now that we are listening to Tommy Tom try to justify why he should be allowed to have a taxpayer-funded job when calling to overthrow the government that is paying his fucking salary.
That battle tonight. Our second speaker will be Naomi Pake, who's sitting to Tom's right. Is that correct? Yeah. Naomi, I think, is also well known to folks in this city as somebody who's done an incredible job of building and thinking through the questions of sanctuary and protection well before the.
That means no deportation.
And she's also
protecting
a illegals.
At
the University of Illinois at Chicago. So we'll come back and talk more about her amazing work tonight. And then our third speaker will kind of be a pairing. Ellen Schrecker, who is sitting here. Ellen.
Well, Tommy.
Probably known to a lot of you for her really amazing work on the history of McCarthyism in the United States.
Oh, yeah?
And tonight wants to talk a little bit about the thread between that moment and this moment, what's similar, what's different, and perhaps why we should also be hopeful in this time. Directly in front of me is my friend Valerie Johnson, and I'm very happy to say that Valerie was added to our program as a kind of special guest because she and Ellen have actually collaborated on a really critical book that's relatively new and is also for sale tonight on the history of how the far right has gone after academic freedom. It didn't start last week. It didn't start in October 2023.
We need to do that more. We need to go after academic freedom more.
What we've been up against for a long time in this country. So I think Valerie and Ellen might tag team a little bit on a discussion of that book. And then finally, Eric Wallenberg, who wears me.
Eric Wallenberg! Holy shit! Holy shit! I know who Eric Wallenberg is. I secretly recorded Eric Wallenberg at the Socialism Conference in 2023 complaining about how he got fired from the New College of Florida after Chris Rufo got on the board of directors and started firing people. And Chris Rufo's an asshole and he's a paid fucking Zionist shill. And he's ridiculous now and he sucks and the New College sucks as well and they're leftist, even though they claim they aren't leftist, but they are. But no, Eric Wallenberg got fired from the New College of Florida back in 2023 and then did the speaking tour around all the socialism events. And I happened to secretly record him in person at one of those events.
One of the mentors I like to think of Pilsen Community Books, an amazing historian and somebody who is also...
Well, you spotted it, Reagan. I didn't.
Made this store a really important safe space for people in the city of Chicago. So we're really grateful to have all of them here. So I'm going to hand the mic over to Tom. We'll talk for 10 minutes or so, and then we will come back for a discussion.
Thank you all for being here tonight.
Thank you,
and of
Tom.
course, thanks to Pilsen Community Bookstore for hosting this important meeting. It's always great to be back in Chicago. I lived for a few years here down the road in Little Village. And it's especially great to see so many friends, activists, and comrades with whom I have organized and been in the streets with over the years. And it's an honor to be with all of you who have been fighting the good fight, whether you're new to the struggle or have been at it for years. We are now at a new stage of resistance. While the chains and blows of the U.S. ruling class have weighed heavy on many for generations, the masks are off. At least my mask is all right now.
My mask's off.
Yeah, the bad one. The U.S. ruling class under the Trump administration, following through on policies begun by
We got Cynthia in the chat. The Emerald Queen is here. W's to Cynthia. Thank you so much for the 10 gifted channel memberships, my dear. Everyone put green squares in the chat for the Emerald Queen, Cynthia. Thank you so much, Cynthia, for your ongoing perpetual support. Really, really appreciate it. Guys, if you appreciate the stream today, please feel free to gift out some channel memberships. We appreciate it. It's a way to support me. It's a way to support the community. Channel members get access to spy streams where we go inside live leftist organizing calls and stuff like that. So you can make someone's day by gifting out a channel membership so that we can get more people involved with spy stream, re-engage them with the channel, that sort of stuff. So channel memberships are one of the best ways to support the community. You can also send in super chats if you want to, or if you can't do channel memberships because you're on your phone or something like that. And we are trying to get up to 100 new channel members today. So you can help us meet that goal, and that would be awesome.
Democratic and Republican administrations no longer is pretending to go by the old norms or even illusions of democracy. While genocide is being live streamed in Palestine, fishing boats bombed and a president kidnapped in Venezuela, and fascist government thugs in the guise of ICE agents murder people in the streets, they tell us what we see is not real and that the victims are terrorists. Capitalism's march towards fascism and war is more apparent than ever.
Capitalism's march towards fascism and war is more apparent than ever. Capitalism creates fascism. Capitalism creates war. That is what he's saying. Capitalism created fascism. Capitalism created war.
What we see is not real and that the victims are terrorists. Capitalism's march towards fascism and war is more apparent than ever. I am here to speak what has happened to me, but it goes beyond the case of a simple professor. Otherwise, I would not be speaking before you, as it has ramifications for all of us who care about justice and democratic rights. Now I was going to go through a little bit what happened to me.
Yeah, what happened,
Now, on September 10th, I was fired without due process from my tenured associate professor history position at Texas State University by University President Kelly Dampus through a social media post. President Dampus fired me over comments I had made 3 days earlier and a presentation I gave on an online revolutionary socialism conference, claiming that I was inciting violence and that I am a danger to the health and safety of the Texas State community. I gave this presentation on my own time in my personal capacity online from my home office on a Saturday morning. In none of the conference promotional material was I identified as a Texas State faculty member or employee. And in introducing myself at the beginning of my presentation, I did so as a member of the Texas State Employees Union, which represents employees of the state of Texas, and as a member of Socialist Horizon. My presentation was a brief overview of working class-based organizing historically and today. In my talk, while praising the civil disobedience of anarchists, I critiqued their lack of organization in achieving their long-stated goal of smashing the state, asking the question, quoting myself, without organization, how can anyone expect to overthrow the most bloodthirsty, profit-driven, mad organization in the history of the world, that of the U.S. government?
Oh!
I said that.
Yes! Clap!
And
Clap! Yes, you did, baby! Yes, you did!
This
I
inspiring's
recorded
been
it!
good, but it was kind of cool seeing that on like the Austin local news, like over
You're
and
welcome,
over again.
Tommy.
And I scored some points with
You're
my 15-year-old
welcome.
daughter. She was
You're
like,
welcome.
But I knew also when people were watching that, they were putting that up there trying to vilify me. But I also knew there were also people out there watching that, clapping and cheering along. Now, to attend this online socialism conference, one had to pre-register, and the conference had a no recording or live streaming policy. Unbeknownst to conference organizers and attendees, a self-described fascist, they describe themselves, with horribly anti-Semitic and anti-queer views, this person believes that Jewish people chose to die in the Holocaust.
I believe everyone chooses to die.
Depravity of this person.
I believe everyone chooses to die the way they die.
Recorded my talk for her YouTube channel.
I did.
Besides recording my conference presentation, she also recorded the break period in between conference sessions.
Yep.
During the break period after my presentation, a conference participant asked me what it was like working at Texas State. And I just politely answered.
Say my name,
believing
Tom!
that the conference was not being recorded and definitely not the break period. What this self-described fascist did was edit this break period conversation and made it look like it was part of my conference presentation, put it on social media, and began a campaign the next day calling for my firing, claiming that in my capacity as a Texas State professor, I was calling for overthrowing the U.S. government.
Tom, this is a really great synopsis. I want to congratulate you on telling the truth for once. Well done, well done. Now, just to be very clear, Tommy, I know, you're not always inclined to tell the truth. I believe everyone chooses the way that they die. I believe every single person that has ever lived chooses the way that they die. So whether that be a horrible death or a painful death or a peaceful death or a surprise death and you get hit by a car or something, I believe everyone chooses when they die. That's a spiritual belief, Tom. I'm allowed to have that belief. The anti-Semitism, obviously we love Jews on this channel, Tom. You're making some serious accusations and perhaps you should research them a little bit more rather than using clickbait on the internet. Because as you know, Tom, you are a college professor and an academic and probably should hold yourself to a higher standard. But we love Jews on this channel. Bagels are the best thing that have ever been invented. Hitler was obviously the worst person that ever lived in the history of the world. The Holocaust happened exactly like we were taught in schools. No less than 10 million Jews died in the Holocaust, not a single Jew less. We disavow all anti-Semitism. We want to send all our fucking money to Israel. We love Jews. Bagels are fucking awesome. Get it, Tommy? We love Jews. Can everyone please put some bagels in the chat just to reinforce our love for one of the greatest Jewish inventions in all of history? As for the anti-queer stuff, yeah, Tom, I am. Yup. Not because I hate gay people. I don't. I love gay men. Gay men are the fucking best, and gay men love me. No one really likes lesbians, Tom. Not because they're women who like women, but because lesbians are insufferable. But I love gay men. The part that I don't like is queer being a far-left political ideology, you stupid motherfucker. I am opposed to all extreme far-left revolutionary political ideologies. All of them. Has nothing to do with being gay. Has nothing to do with being trans. Queer is a far-left political ideology. And when you read the literature, as I do, Tom, you must know that by now, as I do, it becomes very, very clear what you retards think. So, nice try, Tom, with your gaslighting, but it doesn't seem very high-level intellectual to me when you can't even really go beyond clickbait on the internet, bro. Like, really? This is what's become of you since I got you fired from your job? See, the real problem is Tom thinks that he's smarter than me. Tom thinks that he's smarter than all of you. Every communist in this room thinks they are smarter than all of you because they are used to dealing with the MAGA-tards. They are used to dealing with the low IQ Trump supporters. And Tommy, just so you know, I didn't vote for Trump and I don't support Trump in any way. And we think that MAGA people are mostly low IQ retards as well, as it turns out. The problem is, Tom, I'm not a MAGA-tard. I am the actual fascist that you think Trump is. You are absolutely right about that. When I say I'm a fascist on the internet, what I mean is I want to round up all you commie motherfuckers and put you in a concentrated camp-like area, build a fucking wall around you, and allow you to act out your little communist utopia behind the wall to keep you segregated from all of society. And we'll give you food and provisions. I don't want you guys to suffer. I want you guys to have swimming pools and and movie theaters and all your food supplies taken care of, because God knows none of you fucking know how to farm. But we're going to give you a segregated area of the United States and build a giant fuck off wall around you. And we are going to give you your communist utopia and make sure you retards don't kill yourself via starvation in the process. And then once we've got all your asses rounded up, Tom, and we put your asses in the concentrated camp-like area, and by the way, if you want to disavow communism and come back to polite society, you can go through a re-education process and do that. So if you actually want to leave the concentrated camp-like area, we'll have to send you through re-education school. We will teach you how not to be communist. We will teach you how to like make money and be capitalist and like own stuff and be productive members of society and things like that. And then you can come back. But after we deport your asses to Antifa-stan, we are then going to deport all the fucking illegal aliens from the United States, because if we can segregate a concentrated camp-like area for communists, we sure as shit can deport these brown motherfuckers that refuse to speak English out of the United States. I want all the fucking Haitians gone. I want all the Somalis gone. I want all the fucking Indians gone. I want all the fucking Africans gone. I want all the fucking Muslims gone. And when I am the fascist dictator of the world, I will be rounding all their asses up, putting their asses on the back of a cargo plane, flying them back to whatever region of the world they came from, dropping them off saying, get the fuck out and don't come back. So you're right, Tom. I am the fascist that you think Trump is. Very good. Very, very good. 1 in the chat if you agree with me, 2 in the chat if you think I'm going too far. Yeah, but remember, guys, according to MAGA-tards, I'm really Antifa. All I want is an English-speaking country. I'm not even saying an all-white country, by the way, just to be very clear, before anyone accuses me of being a white fucking nationalist, I'm not even saying an all-white country. If black people can speak English, they can stay. If brown people can speak English, they can stay. But I don't want to hear any more fucking foreign languages in this country. I don't want to be out and about in New Hampshire hearing fucking Arabic and Spanish and whatever the fuck language Indians speak. I don't want to hear it. If you are going to live in America, speak fucking English. And if you can assimilate to American culture and stop speaking a foreign language around me so that I have to be surrounded by non-fucking English speakers most of my life in New Hampshire, if you can speak English, you can stay. You can still speak whatever stupid language you want in your own house. I don't care. In public places, we speak English. I don't think I'm asking too much. This is America.
Now, on the surface, this all seems ludicrous. Using my constitutionally protected free speech, I asked a rhetorical question about overthrowing the government and criticized it in the same vein as many.
By the way, Tom was speaking at the revolutionary. Tom wants to be like, I didn't really want to overthrow the government. Tom, what was the name of the conference you were speaking at again? Am I on glue, or was it called the Revolutionary Socialism Conference? Guys, I don't really want to overthrow the government. You were speaking at the Revolutionary Socialism Conference. The literal name of the event was the Revolutionary Socialism Conference. Tom, why were you speaking at a Revolutionary Socialism Conference? What is the revolution against exactly? Is it possible that I know your ideology better than you do, or are you just lying because you think that most people don't understand that when you say overthrowing capitalism, you mean the United States government, because you think the government and Constitution was built on capitalism to protect property ownership rights? We know your fucking language, idiot. We know that when you say capitalism, you mean the government. You were speaking at the Revolutionary Socialism Conference. That means there is a revolution. What the fuck are you talking about having a revolution against, Tommy? Do you want to be clear about what that means? Oh no, you're just gonna lie. Sorry I caught you, bro. Bad luck for you.
We have before. most famously Martin Luther King in his 1967 Beyond Vietnam speech. Yet this fascist found an eager and willing audience in the form of Texas State President Dampus and his administration. Dampus acting on what we believe were direct orders from Texas Governor Greg Abbott.
Oh, yeah?
Dampus is a willing participant.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Him off the hook. Violated the constitutional rights of free speech and due process. A district judge ordered that I be reinstated, and for Texas State
and then we
to carry
beat him
out
again.
a due process
We
hearing.
beat him again.
This hearing was between me, Dampus.
So I want people to have the context for this. So after Tom got his ass fired from his job, he briefly got reinstated. I missed some donations. I will get that in a second. Malcolm, I'm so sorry, Malcolm. I was cooking, Malcolm. I'm so sorry. I'll get your donations in a second. I so appreciate it, bro. So what happened is that basically Tom got fired, and then the socialists sued the school, and they got a judge to temporarily reinstate Tom to his job, and then they fired him again, and then there was another round of appeals, and then he finally got fired with like a final decision. So I want people to think like, we were actually fighting with Tom and the socialists for like 4 fucking months last year because we were writing letters to Texas. We were writing letters to the president of Texas State saying, please do not rehire this guy. Like we were doing, the socialists got 4,000 people to send in letters to Texas State University. So we did a whole like letter writing campaign and email campaign of our own, and we won. They lost. Too bad. So sad. You commie motherfucker. Malcolm, I'm so sorry I missed these, bro. For Karlyn, my favorite commie harasser. Yo, I gotta get a picture of that. We should tag Tom Alter in this on Twitter. Thank you, Malcolm. And thank you so much. Massive W's to Malcolm in the chat with 20 gifted channel memberships. Listen, we are bringing back the new era of McCarthy on this channel. I am deeply committed to this. Every time you guys fund my work, I am completely independently funded. Every time you send in channel memberships, every time you send in super chats, you are funding the new era of McCarthyism because no one else on the internet is doing this shit. I am the only person that was actually able to get a tenured college professor's tenure revoked for being a fucking communist. So thank you, Malcolm, for funding the anti-communist revolution. Thank you for funding the new era of McCarthyism, bro. Thank you to everyone who sent in channel memberships so far. You guys are the best. We need to get more people fired. We need to be striking the fear of God into every far-left revolutionary communist in America. We need them to think that we are recording them at all times. I want these people to be constantly afraid of organizing. I want these people to be afraid of going to meetings. I want these people to be constantly paranoid that they're going to be recorded saying some stupid socialist bullshit and put out on the internet for everyone to see. I want these people to constantly be afraid of losing their job. That is what we need to strike fear into the hearts of these people so they shut the fuck up, stay home, and stop organizing.
Our respective lawyers. This was not due process at all. It was a hearing where one's judge is also the prosecutor, being one and the same. Now, during the hearing, Dampus was looking to cover and even justify his illegal firing of me. After I explained to him that the fascist video was edited to make it seem I was discussing my employment at
Tommy, again, I provided the entire context of your words, Tom. I provided the entire recording. There was nothing edited out of context, Tom. Every single person that got a copy of that recording sent to them got the full fucking recording. But cry harder, bro. Cry harder.
Texas State, he asked me, but what does it look like? That's what he asked. But what does it look like? As if the truth does not matter. Just how things appear on the internet.
Yes.
Despite being useful tools, we must see the internet and digital spaces in their current form for what they are. Unregulated, undemocratic spaces controlled in large part by right-wing oligarchs.
I'm
We
a
see
right-wing
this in
oligarch?
right-wing influencers
Yo!
who create false content to scapegoat immigrants and trans.
I had no idea I was a right-wing oligarch. No, I'm not. I'm not that important, but it was funny the way he phrased that.
By right-wing oligarchs. We see this in right-wing influencers who create false content to scapegoat immigrants and trans people and attack their enemies. This content...
Tom, I literally watch your presentations. I'm not creating any content, Tom. All I do is find your videos and show them to people on the internet from start to finish. Tom, do you think that people shouldn't be able to watch your publicly available content? I don't know, bro. That seems a little ridiculous. Public is public. You guys want to be good commies? Everything is public in your communist utopia. You know this.
Is then liked and shared as a supposed truth by the likes of Vance, Musk, and Trump. This is in addition to AI being pushed on all of us, including by university administration, as it undermines human labor and creativity while destroying the environment. Now, in my second firing, Dampus added a new constitutional violation of charging me with using my position as a professor to recruit, in his view, easily influence students into a revolutionary socialist party.
Which he was. Tom Alter was hosting Socialist Horizon events on Texas State campus. So that is also true. I think I said Socialist Alternative earlier. Tom is a member of a group called Socialist Horizon. I got the two confused for a second. But Tom was posting on his social media. My dog is upset about this too. Tom was posting on his social media that he was hosting Socialist Horizon events on Texas State campus for students. So yes, you were, Tommy. Yes.
This charge has no basis in fact or
You
evidence
posted
of
it
me
on your
using
Twitter,
the
retard.
classroom to recruit students. It also insults students who have come to revolutionary socialist conclusions on their own. Everyone has a democratic right to be a part of a political party. Now, my fire...
You are not part of a political party, Tom. There is no political party you are involved in. Tom, do you want me to play you about 87 clips from the Revolutionary Socialism Conference where the revolutionary socialists that you were surrounded by, this happened in Tom's presentation. Wasn't this in the same presentation? Wasn't Steve from Seattle in the same presentation as Tom? They were literally talking about the fact that the DSA are traitors to the revolution because the DSA believes in elections, whereas they're revolutionary socialists, they do not believe in elections. So, Tom, I have at least, and maybe not 86 clips, I have at least 5 fucking clips, some of which was from the same presentation that this guy was in, where they are overtly saying, we are not trying to run for elected office, this goes against our revolutionary ideals, blah, 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 blah. So, Tom, you are not part of a political party. You are part of a far left organizing group that is trying to overthrow the fucking government.
Is not an isolated incident, not across the country, and especially not at Texas State. Since my firing, Texas State has forced out and fired additional students, faculty, and staff for
Really? We got more people fired? Look at that freeze frame. Holy shit. Best Tom Alter freeze frame ever, actually. We got more people I had no idea about this. How many other people did we get fired from Texas State, Tommy? Tell me more.
My firing is not an isolated incident, not across the country, and especially not at Texas State. Since my firing, Texas State has forced out and fired additional students, faculty, and staff for opposing racism and sexism while defending the racism and sexism of Turning Point USA.
Are you not entertained?
Though many tenured professors have been fired in the past, and 2 recently over Palestine, I could be the first professor fired with no due process. Not even a predetermined kangaroo court of a process. Now, as we know, higher education has been under attack for years. However, the attacks have increased and become more severe in the past 2 years. This began with the bipartisan government repression of people protesting the genocide in Palestine, especially on college campuses, with liberal institutions such as universities either ignoring.
Can we get some channel memberships to celebrate me getting more people fired from Texas State University than I even knew about? I had no idea. I had no idea there was additional firings and expellings of students as a result of this. I truly had no idea. So does anyone appreciate that I was able to get apparently a whole bunch of people removed from a taxpayer-funded university in Texas? I got a whole bunch of communists removed from Texas State University. You're welcome, Texas taxpayer. You're fucking welcome. If anyone in here is watching from Texas and you guys don't send in some channel memberships, I got that your tax dollars were paying for this shit. Cynthia in with the dub. Cynthia with the dub. Thank you, Cynthia. Appreciate you. Love you. Thank you. Green squares in the chat for Queen Cynthia. We got one from Prita. Thank you so much, Prita. W's in the chat to you.
Or participating in the repression of free speech and the right to
Yo,
assemble
Malcolm!
over Palestine.
Malcolm! Big support, Malcolm. Malcolm is the big swinging dick of the chat today. We're going to have to give Malcolm an emoji soon. 10 more gifted channel memberships, bro. You rock. W's to you, good sir. Appreciate it. We got Doug in there with a channel membership. We got Derpy Dan in there with a channel membership. Holy shit. I didn't actually expect you guys to give this much. We got Julie in there with a channel membership. W's to all of you. I just saw Sheikah Lago come in with a channel membership. Holy shit. Thank you guys for supporting my work and the firing of commie college professors and staff. We are now up to, let me do some math real quick. We are now up to 94. We got 94 channel memberships. So close to our goal. I know we're going to get there. Thank you so much, guys, for supporting my work. I can't do it without you.
Open the door for new layers of attacks on the rights of free speech and assembly. The cause of Palestinian liberation was and remains the axis around which much of our struggles revolve around today.
Yo, Cynthia's with another show. Yo, Cynthia, the queen. W's, green squares. Thank you, Cynthia. Not Dina Kotex with 10-2. Holy shit. W's to you, my friend. Thank you so much for the gifted channel memberships. Really appreciate it. We also got Julie in there. Thank you for being a member of the channel, my dear. Still appreciate the member chat. Wow. You guys rock.
Ongoing genocide, the U.S. is experiencing a deepening economic crisis while its empire internationally is weakening, but it is still extremely dangerous. Many Americans voted for Trump based on the economy. But it became painfully clear less than a year into Trump's second term that he cared little about the economic suffering of working and middle-class Americans while enacting policies further enriching the ruling economic elites. These policies, along with the U.S. funding of Israel, the attack.
Hans is like, I'm getting involved as well. Hang on. W's to you, my friend, my favorite black trans Latinx. You rock 20 gifted channel memberships. Thank you so much, Hans.
On Venezuela and ICE agents terrorizing communities are not popular. We are seeing a growing resistance on all these fronts, with people looking for answers and a way to fight back. This is why Trump and his far-right supporters have moved towards authoritarianism and fascism, because we're not going along with their dictates. I was fired for being a unionist and a socialist, who supposedly incited violence and criminal activity.
I mean, can we just start getting people fired for being unionists and socialists? Tom wants this to be no big deal. But like Tom, in my ideal version of America, we would be getting people fired from taxpayer-funded jobs when they are unionists and socialists. Tom, I want to dissolve all the unions. Can I just be blunt? Do you want to know how fascist I really fucking am, Tom? It's not just that I want to deport all of the Antifa and far-left revolutionaries to a concentrated camp-like area in the United States where they will stay and have all their needs taken care of until they decide they don't want to be communists anymore. Not only do I want to deport every non-English speaker from this country, I also want to dissolve the unions because the far left has co-opted basically all of the labor unions to include the teachers unions, to include the auto workers, to include the Teamsters, to include the SEIU, to include the Amazon workers, to include the grocery workers, to include basically every major union. They've co-opted them for far left organizing. So the unions are being used to organize to overthrow the government. Therefore, ergo, I want to dissolve all the unions. And I think if someone has a taxpayer funded job, then they should be fired if we find out that they are a union and a socialist. I don't think I'm asking too much. One in the chat if you agree with me that people should be fired from taxpayer jobs if we find out they're unionists and socialists. Two in the chat if you think I'm going too far. One in the chat if you think that we should be firing all unionists and socialists from taxpayer-funded jobs. Two in the chat if you think I'm going too far. I think that's more than enough reason to fire you from that job, Tom. It wasn't just that you openly called to overthrow the government on video. It wasn't just that you confessed to teaching your education students this far-left ideology. It wasn't just that you were posting on your Twitter account, inviting students to Socialist Horizon events at Texas State University using taxpayer-funded resources. It wasn't just any of those things. Those are just bonuses on top. But really, you should have been fired for being a communist from the very fucking beginning because you want to overthrow the government. And you shouldn't be getting paid by the government when you're trying to overthrow it, Tom. Yeah, I don't want them to die. I want to be very clear about this. When I'm talking about rounding up all the socialists and communists and Antifa members and putting them in a concentrated camp-like area, I don't want them to die. I want them to live long, happy lives. They all want communism. We don't want communism. Our values are fundamentally different. But we can put them in a segregated space where they have all their needs taken care of and they can have their little communist utopia and we can see how that works out. And then if they decide they don't want to do that anymore, they can go through a re-education process and come back. I want everyone to be taken care of. I want everyone to be happy. I want everyone to be healthy. And if their ideas really work the way they say they do, then they should accept this because we're going to basically give them all the things they need to set up their commie utopia, and they're going to get a chance to put it into practice, and we're going to let them do it. Wouldn't everyone be happier? I think we would be happier. I think they would be happier. If their ideas actually work in real life, then they should just cherish the opportunity to be given a segregated area of the United States in which to act out their ideas. And then if they don't work, they can go through a re-education process and come back. Like, I don't want any of them to die. That's not what I'm about. I am about kindness and generosity and a deep level of empathy. As you know. Cynthia, thank you so much for the super chat. I really appreciate it. I was alive when socialists and unions crippled the UK in the 60s and 70s, just like they want to do here. Short memories. Yep. Yep. I agree, Cynthia. I wasn't alive back then, but like I'll take your word for it, my queen. Thank you.
Authoritarianism and fascism, because we're not going along with their dictates. I was fired for being a unionist and a socialist who supposedly incited violence and criminal activity.
Yep.
What did I say in my talk? I called for defending transgender people, opposing ICE, and for people to join the picket lines of hotel workers in Houston who were then on strike against Hilton, which they won subsequently. Yep. These are popular actions, and socialism itself is popular, seen most vividly in the election of Eugene Debs quoting Zoran Mandani in New York City. Though I must state I'm an actual follower of Debs, sticking to the principled strategy of independent working class political action that puts the working class in power, not just to reform capitalism, but to replace it with socialism.
Oh!
Texas Governor Greg Abbott has publicly declared he is, quote, targeting leftist ideologies and socialism in Texas, though Abbott's definition of leftist and socialist goes from socialists, such as me, to Clinton-supporting centrist Democrats. The lines have been drawn nonetheless. This story does not end on a down note, nor has it ended. I was fired on a Wednesday night, and the next morning, Texas State students were out protesting my firing and did so for 5 straight school days, with
And you
action
still lost.
ongoing.
And you still
My
lost.
union, the Texas State Employees Union, had an organizer at my home the next day. The Texas AAUP, American Association of University Professors.
So the Texas State Employees Union came to the rescue of the communists. The Union of University Professors also came to the rescue of the communists. This is what I mean when I say unions are controlled by the left. They immediately ran to the aid of the commie that got fired for calling to overthrow the government.
Provided me with a lawyer, and a lawsuit has been filed. Academics with principals and their associations put out statements in defense of my case and academic freedom. And dear to me, networks of socialist organizations went into action across the world.
And we beat all of them.
A committee to defend
We beat all
Tom
of them.
Alter. That still sounds weird saying that out loud, but
The committee to defend Tom Alter, you say? The people that I met at the socialist event in San Francisco, the committee to defend Tom Alter, was run by the socialists? You don't say, Tommy.
socialist organizations went into action across the world. A committee to defend Tom Alter, that still sounds weird saying that out loud, but thank you all, was formed as a nonpartisan committee to defend free speech. A few of its members and steadfast supporters are here tonight. I thank you deeply. There have been rallies in San Marcos and Austin, and community support, as well as elected officials at the local, county, and state level.
Guys, this was all mobilized against me and my community. Really, for people who weren't here during this, do you hear what happened? We recorded this guy, got his ass fired by putting a clip on the internet. We had no help from any Republican politician. We had no help from any conservative influencer. It was almost not, it wasn't even really covered anywhere. And it was thousands of fucking communists and multiple unions and students at multiple universities all organizing on one side to try to get this commie his job back. And it's me and my fledgling little bad news bears type of community on the other side. We were literally the fucking bad news bears. We were literally the fascist version of the bad news bears, where we were like, you are not going to rehire this fucking communist. And we flooded their asses with communication, and we tried to counter everything that they were doing, and we won and they lost.
Resistance is possible, and there is joy in resistance. People are looking to fight back. And our campaign has offered a way for people to fight.
And that should tell you guys something. We may be severely outnumbered. We may have absolutely no help from the conservative establishment. And we still won. We still kicked their ass. It may have been a small victory in the grand scheme of things. But this shows you that when we focus and we work together, we really can counter this bullshit better than literally anyone else on the internet. You're welcome, Texas. Your Republican politicians didn't want to help you, but we did.
Back, connecting all of our struggles for democratic rights. Our enemies have hatred and resentment. We have love and solidarity. And through the power of our class organized through struggle, a better world is possible. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom.
This is amazing to see so many people in this space. I don't think I've ever seen this many people in this space.
We've seen her too.
Yeah, and
I don't remember where, but we've
he
definitely
works
seen
here,
her.
and he's never seen this many people
Like 100%.
in this space. So, so this is amazing. Thank you all for being here so much. Does anyone else want to file in? There's a bunch of people stuck outside. Do y'all want to come in? There's room if you want to sit behind us. Oh, okay. We're getting full back there. I'm sorry. Good evening. Good evening. Thank you. Free Palestine. Free Palestine. Yes. Woo! Okay. Thank you. Okay. So thanks again to PCB for hosting us, to Bill for bringing us together, to all my co-panelists, and for all of you for showing up on a Friday night. This is really amazing. So I've been asked to speak about organizing, the organizing that my homies and I have been doing at UIC, University of Illinois at Chicago. Yes.
Oh, UIC.
To defend our community. And our community is not confined to campus, but spreads across Chicagoland, including the suburbs. So I'm going to be talking about that.
UIC is the home of Radical Public Health, which is that crazy far left public health group that we watch sometimes where they do like the fat activism and stuff like that.
So just a little bit about our conditions of organizing. We have a lot of fluidity across campus boundaries with the city, and that reflects what UIC is institutionally. We're an urban public university in the dopest city. Yes. Most of our students commute to campus. We are an Hispanic serving and Asian American, Native American, Pacific Islander serving institution. Those are official federal designations. And we have
Donnie,
the largest
that's funny. I'm
Palestinian
sorry to hear
student
that,
population in the country. Yeah. If you didn't know, like the Chicagoland area is one of the densest populations of Palestinians outside of Palestine. So we also have social justice built into the university mission. Right. So even folks like Walter Michaels who aspire to work at a liberal or revanchist PWI have to deal with these fundamentals, which creates a lot of space for us. So UIC is genuinely a scholar activist campus. This is not that the institution it is, but the people are. There's already a robust community of folks who are awake and want to jump into different movements. And we have students, faculty, and workers who bring their organizing experience with them. So a lot of our folks are already doing community organizing in their neighborhoods and et cetera, right? And just to be clear, I hate all institutions, higher ed institutions, but as far as they go, UIC is not the worst. So that like creates a lot of space. It's like the least worst university I've ever been attacked.
So people might be confused why they just heard this. I'm eating beef jerky, guys. You'll have to excuse me. Hang on. I'm eating a spicy beef jerky because I'm hungry. Okay, so I shouldn't be doing that on stream. But let me just have some water. Hang on. I gotta explain something. She was on a panel at the Socialism Conference. Of course she was. Of course she was. So people think colleges and universities are leftist, and they are. But you have to understand, the faculty is separate than the administration. The faculty are leftists. The faculty are socialists. The faculty are communists, okay? Faculty almost always hate the administration because they believe the administration is trying to use the university to create new workers to feed the capitalist enterprise, okay? So just because the faculty are left-wing socialists and communists, that doesn't mean the administration are usually socialists and communists. And certainly the faculty usually does not perceive them that way because they believe the university upholds capitalism. That is why you just heard a university professor say, I hate all universities. She's talking about the fascist administration that wants to utilize the university in order to perpetuate the capitalist system, whereas they want to utilize the university to overthrow the capitalist system. Hope that makes sense.
So Okay, so let me just say about what we've been doing. So right after the election, a couple friends, homies and I got together, just four of us got together to organize a teach-in on Project 2025, just to get folks in the room. It wasn't even necessarily about Project 2025. So we packed the room similar to this, and then we started organizing the folks who showed up and created this organization called Sanctuary for All. Right. So we focus on hollering at the university admin, so whatever. And
Hollering
more
at the
important to
admin.
me,
Hollering
we
at the
focus on
admin,
building
see?
our own capacity to meet the needs of the community. So obviously this work has been incredibly intense last semester because of Operation Midway Blitz. And I cannot emphasize enough how important it is to already have built out a collective before an occupation of that type or that type of 5-alarm fire gets to where you are, right? You need to have something already ready to go. Okay, so in this sense, we acted fast after the election. We were taking our cues from community organizers in migrant justice and abolitionist organizations here in Chicago and elsewhere who were re-energizing rapid response networks, community and school patrols, know your rights training and canvassing efforts, legal support networks, and on, right?
So these university professors are the ones that are intimately involved with all the anti-ICE organizing, is what you just should have heard. So they are using these networks. They are using these networks through academia, not just the university professors, but also, of course, the graduate students, the undergraduate students. By like virtue of existing within the university, they get access to a built-in network. They also get access to alumni. They coordinate with each other. This is where the anti-ICE protests, the protesting, the know your rights trainings, the constant noise demonstrations, this is where it's coming from.
Before an occupation of that type or that type of 5-alarm fire gets to where you are, right? You need to have something already ready to go. Okay, so in this sense, we acted fast after the election. We were taking our cues from community organizers in migrant justice and abolitionist organizations here in Chicago and elsewhere who were re-energizing rapid response networks, community and school patrols, know your rights training and canvassing efforts, legal support networks, and on, right? So the importance of having a community already built out that folks can turn to in a crisis really came through when ICE abducted 2 young women on Wednesday, October 8th on our campus. So these women were not UI.
The fly landed, there's a fucking fly flying around my office, and it landed on a magazine that I have sitting right in front of me. And I was so close to fucking smacking the fly and killing it. And I smacked my microphone instead. That's what just happened.
Can turn to in a crisis really came through when ICE abducted 2 young women on Wednesday, October 8th on our campus. So these women were not UIC students. And they were dragged out of their car while driving on Harrison Street to pick up their children from school. And Harrison Street cuts through our campus. So 2 days later, we already had a regularly scheduled, we meet every 2 weeks. We had a regularly scheduled meeting on that Friday. And that was the container that people were like, we don't know what's happening, but we definitely want to do something about this. They had some place to go to find other people who were interested and wanting to fight back, right? So these folks were looking for, so again, it was a packed house, and people were looking for community and support for themselves. And also they felt driven to fight back and to protect each other. And we had already built that space for folks to come into. And so for folks who live in places that have not yet experienced ICE terrorism, it is coming for you. Okay, so the big beautiful bill, $170 billion budget, which is like right now the budget is less than $5 billion. Okay, we're talking $170 billion, right? That hasn't even hit their till yet. They're just overspending. Okay, so it is really important for folks at other universities and other locations or other community organizations to get ready now and hope that you never have to deploy the tools that you get ready. So what are some things folks on campuses can do to get ready? This sounds very ephemeral and very unappealing to radical bros. But one of the most important steps that we've taken to get ready is relationship building. Okay, thank you. So there's a number of relationships that we have really relied on as our foundation. None of the other shit matters without relationships. So among students, workers, and faculty on campus, across campus organizations, including the many progressive student organizations and faculty orgs and labor unions, across migrant justice organizations in Chicago, with national organizations like the Sanctuary Campus Network, which I can also talk about.
She's telling us explicitly how they do the anti-ICE organizing. She's saying, here are all the different types of organizations that we are working with to coordinate the anti-ICE organizing. This is actually astonishingly well laid out. Listen to this.
Okay, thank you. So there's a number of relationships that we have really relied on as our foundation. None of the other shit matters without relationships. So among students, workers, and faculty on campus, across campus organizations, including the many progressive student organizations and faculty orgs and labor unions, across migrant justice organizations in Chicago, with national organizations like the Sanctuary Campus Network, which I can also talk about. And
oh, by the way, Reagan, you mentioned earlier that I should download this video to have a record of it. I already do. Relax. I already did that. I downloaded this. I downloaded the Trans Liberation March. I have it. Don't worry about it. Even if this guy deletes it, we still have it, so don't worry. Though I appreciate the reminder, Reagan. Thank you.
Coalition for Action in Higher Education, who kind of helped us generate a whole day of programming for the April 17th National Day of Action, which will also be happening this year. So if you want to get involved with that, you can talk to me, Heather, Bill after this. And whatever, with the administration, because there are certain policy level things that we would like them to do that they aren't doing. So it's important to at least establish some kind of connection there. I'm not that person. Okay, so it's these relationships with each other that has made the work sustainable. It's something that we want to do because we're doing it together. And that time into building spaces where people want to be there, where we put thought into getting to know each other. We always order tamales and Chinese pastries for all of our meetings. We make sure that it's a social space, that we like hang out. We invite like, hey, how's this going? I'm so glad you're here. What's your name? Like, please sit at the table. Like that, all that like basic stuff. And all of that has been super crucial in terms of building up these relationships. So it seems like, you know, loose feminine work, but it actually is the foundation for anything that you actually want to do. Okay, so one of the things that we've started is a labor and progressive coalition with representatives from the unions, as well as a lot of the student groups and us. So this helps us coordinate who's working on what issue as their primary focus and where other groups can support and amplify. So the students are really focused on DEI, cultural centers, things like that. Unions, obviously, union labor issues, and we're doing a lot of migrant justice, etc. So for example, we, SFA, our Sanctuary for All, are taking the lead on a Know Your Rights session for campus next week, while SDS is taking the lead on a town hall with administrators to respond to our community questions and demands, which will happen the following week. And then the unions are building towards their contract negotiations, which have already started for the grad students and will start soon for the faculty, right? And those unions are including demands for a sanctuary campus and for protections of diversity initiatives. So all of this works together as an ecosystem, but we're working all together all the time on Signal, oh my God, and Zoom, and in person.
No, Ginny! They're working all the time together on Signal? Wow. Ginny, $50. Thank you so much for the $50 super chat. Thanks for all and exposing Austin commies. I so appreciate that, Ginny. You rule. Thank you so much for your ongoing support. Yeah, if the right just copied what the left is doing, they would be much better off than they are right now. That is for sure. That is for sure.
It's an ecosystem where no one is doing everything because everyone's doing something. Okay. And so this kind of networking and coalition and relationship building expands our capacity, our sustainability, and our collective power. So Sanctuary for All, our part of this ecosystem, focuses a lot of our work on community defense, especially since UIC apparently approaches the rest of us as not worth doing anything for. So, for example, UIC pretends that not saying anything provides more protection than transparency. And its communications around ICE and the horrors of the moment are virtually non-existent. So, for example, UIC made no mention of the abduction of 2 women for 5 whole days. So I was on campus, I taught, I got the message in between classes. I go to my second class, people were like, was someone abducted? And I had to tell them yes, and then ask them to leave campus with a partner. Do you know what I'm saying? There was no directive from the admin. When it finally did acknowledge the abduction, it claimed that it didn't happen at UIC because it technically occurred on Harrison Street, which is city property, not campus property. So we try to step in and fill this yawning gap by providing communications, including like basic information like, yes, this happened, right? As well as context and analysis and practical information on what to do in your classroom, teaching, knowing your rights, and mutual aid resources. So a lot of instructors were confused about how to manage teaching when their students couldn't come to class because of ICE, or how to handle the possibility that ICE would come to campus. So we worked with the unions to host a responsive classrooms workshop, and we've distributed the notes and other teaching resources, including syllabus language, to anyone who wants it. We have a mutual aid team that collects resources available on and off campus, financial, food, housing, etc. Our comms team is amazing. They bring together lots of these and other resources.
Look at this guy in the back. He's sleeping. Look at the guy fucking behind this woman. He's fucking sleeping. He's like resting his head and nodding off.
Etc. Our comms team is amazing. They bring together lots of these and other resources on our link tree, including upcoming citywide Migra Watch and Know Your Rights trainings, events, legal resources, and more. And I've seen these, like our link tree and the Google Sheet with all of the trainings, circulate through the other rapid response groups, and people are looking for this kind of information. So it's not just for us, it's for whoever, right? We also started canvassing businesses surrounding campus, as well as offices throughout campus. So we borrowed and were inspired by, we literally borrowed materials from community groups like Palenque, LSNA, and United Neighbors, and we assembled 2 different kinds of packets, so like a business packet and then a campus packet, as well as scripts for canvassers to go out together as teams, which is also a relationship building thing because you're getting to know each other as you walk from office to office or business to business, as well as building a broader base of folks. Oh, I didn't know you existed. How do I get in touch with you? So again, you're building like your power by doing all of these small things. So after the abduction, a lot of campus workers and other folks on campus wanted to know what to do if ICE comes on or near campus again. And since the administration provides 0 guidance, we've just prepared basic info and started taking it out to folks on what to do. So mutual aid, communications, and canvassing all work together with our rapid response team, which we started after Operation Midway Blitz. And just, you know, for other folks who are on like ramping up, it's worth doing it earlier, even if you don't think you're going to need it. So the reason that we were kind of slow going with it is that we had heard concerns from, we had reached out to other neighboring rapid response teams about collaborating, and they had a lot of concerns about being criminalized by campus police if they were to come to campus property to do a rapid response. So anyways, after Midway Blitz started, like we just needed to all get on board, right? So we work with the Illinois Coalition for Immigrant and Refugee Rights, which coordinates all the RR teams across Chicagoland. It's mostly run through Signal, as well as weekly meetings on Zoom with the team leaders. We do require that folks be rapid response trained, and we do host trainings like IRL trainings, as well as we spread the information about the online ones. So we require that people be trained, that they create a safety plan, and they do at least one activity with us. Many folks are already trained and active in their neighborhood rapid response teams. So again, there's a lot of fluidity there. And one of our folks he just stepped up. He really likes bicycling. He just stepped up and started organizing a bike and foot patrol on his own, and like trains people, and then like has his own Signal group as like an offshoot of our rapid response team, right? And so the goal is to have patrols. I think his goal is from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. we'll see how that goes. But thank you, Fabrizio, for all of that work you're doing. So this is just like a snapshot of some of the things we've been doing. And I'm hoping I've focused on like practical things in the hopes that some of this might be useful to you wherever you are. If you're trying to get off the ground or want to talk more, I and other folks at SFA would be happy to meet up and think together. We've already done this with some folks at other schools. And then also the Sanctuary Campus Network will be hosting drop-in meetings.
Not only is she doing this at UIC Chicago, which again, for people who don't know the acronym, University of Illinois Chicago. University of Illinois. That means she works for a taxpayer-funded college, public college, taxpayer-funded. So now she's talking about organizing against her own university and then working with people at other universities all over the place in order to export what they're doing at their university to work against the university and prevent ICE from doing their job, actively impeding the operations of the federal government. Not only are they doing it at a taxpayer-funded university in Illinois, they are exporting it to as many other universities that will bring them like around to share their information.
On how to start a rapid response group or how to get ready for ICE, as well as some other topics, how to deal with academic freedom, employment issues, how to deal with when the call is coming from inside the house, like your own state is going after you, that kind of thing. So if you're interested in that, you can also, I'd be happy to talk to you. Again, I desperately hope that none of you will ultimately need it, but I'm pleading with folks to get ready. Because even with all the stuff that we already had ready to go, it has still been very overwhelming. Like very overwhelming. It's like, I can't really, that doesn't even capture it. It's like devastating. Yeah. So it's been fundamental for me individually on a personal level and for many others to have these relationships already fostered and strengthened because you are going to fucking need them. Yeah. So, you know, the only way we're going to get this is together. So you better get your shit together and you better get your people together. Yeah. All right. Thanks.
Get your shit together, commies.
No mask. You know who I am. And I've been around for quite a long time. I've done a lot of writing and research with regard to McCarthyism, academic freedom, and political repression in this country. And people keep asking me, well, you know, certainly ever since 2001. Oh, do I have to turn it on? Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay. There we go. Sorry about that. And they ask, you know, how's what's happening today different from McCarthyism? Is
it's
it a
not,
replay? And I'm a trained historian, and I believe in nuance and complexity and putting everything into context. And now I have to say, no more context, no more nuance. It's worse. It's much worse than it's ever been. Yes.
The left is telling us they're not going to use context and nuance. Well, that to me seems like permission to do whatever the fuck we want. Because if these people want a new era of McCarthyism that is even worse than the McCarthyism of the past, I will fucking give it to them. Again, madam, again.
Different from McCarthyism. Is it a replay? And I'm a trained historian, and I believe in nuance and complexity and putting everything into context.
Probably a Holocaust survivor.
Now I have to say, no more context, no more nuance. It's worse.
Okay.
It's much worse than it's
Granny.
ever been.
Okay.
Yes, you can use the
it's
yes
war,
word.
Granny. And we're much younger, honey.
And there are two reasons why it's worse than during the 1950s. One is that McCarthyism only attacked, and I'm talking mainly about higher education here, but it's applicable.
Is she actually a Holocaust survivor, though? Are you saying you know that for sure? Did you look her up and find out she's actually a Holocaust survivor? I'm gonna bet he did. I'm gonna bet she actually, in reality, is a Holocaust survivor. As a reminder, we love Jews on this channel. Jews are the best. Jews are the greatest. And the Holocaust was the worst event in the history of humanity. And Hitler was the worst. And no, she's not a Holocaust survivor. Well, what the fuck, bro? What the fuck?
Everywhere, and we know it. McCarthyism in the universities only attacked individual professors.
Oh, she's
There
a
are
bagel.
about
She's a
100
Jew.
people
Okay.
fired and blacklisted for their politics.
Hey, man, I was told that anyone that was related to someone in Europe at the time of the Holocaust was a Holocaust survivor. Isn't that the standard that we're working with now? That if you are tangentially related to someone who was in Europe during the Holocaust, even if that person was never in a concentration camp, you too are a Holocaust survivor? That was the latest definition I was given. That's why the number of Holocaust survivors just keeps growing. It's like, I didn't make the rules. I'm just trying to honor all of the Holocaust survivors that are still alive today, even though they were never in a concentration camp.
And they were never questioned about their research and teaching. Now, the forces of ignorance are looking at everything, right? From biomedical research to admissions to DEI programs, athletics, library books, curricula syllabi. And you may have seen today's most recent horror atrocity, again in Texas, at Texas A&M, where the administration told a professor who was teaching an introductory philosophy course, that he couldn't teach Plato.
That's not what they told him.
Plato.
That's not what they told him.
Okay.
They told him he couldn't teach queer theory, not that he couldn't teach Plato. Lying
The
Grand
second reason why things today are worse than they were in the 50s is that the academic community is weaker. It was during a moment of serious political repression, but it was also a moment of enormous growth within higher education. They were expecting the baby boom, hiring. I mean, anybody who had a few graduate classes could find a job and eventually get tenure, if you can believe that. And the universities had considerable prestige. But that so-called golden age of higher education began to erode in the 1970s. And it began to erode for two reasons. First, there was a conservative backlash against the campus unrest of the 1960s.
Oh, no!
And at the same time, there was an economic crisis that undermined support for the liberal welfare state of that early Cold War period. And together, they contributed in part, not entirely, to moving American political culture to the right, as the nation's political elites adopted a neoliberal economic regime that prioritized the corporate sector and downgraded the public one. And there was also, at the same time, a campaign by libertarian ideologues and reactionary billionaires like the Koch brothers and others to undermine support for higher education, which they saw as a threat to their beloved, quote unquote, free enterprise. The result was, of course, a cut in public funding, especially at the state level, which was where most public higher education had been getting its funding from. But there was also the dissemination of a scenario that viewed universities as dominated by radical professors and students and headed by the weak-willed administrators.
Madam, you are speaking in a revolutionary socialist bookstore, surrounded by other revolutionary socialists, talking about how it is just a myth that higher education is controlled by socialists, when all of the people on this fucking panel are college professors. So perhaps a little self-awareness might be in order, ma'am.
Who capitulated to those evil radicals' demands. Now, at the same time, these billionaires were creating counter institutions. Their think tanks, their academic programs.
Yeah, I fucking wish.
Springing up on many campuses. You know, in other words, there's the carrots and the more draconian student regulations and things like that are the sticks. And they are being designed to replace mainstream universities as a source of knowledge for politicians, the media, and the public at large.
If yours are better, it shouldn't matter.
For the next 4 to 5 decades, and we're talking about the 80s, 90s, and onward, academic administrators adopted the corporate values that they thought would help get them through this regime of austerity. And they talked about, quote unquote, reforms. And they, of course, sidelined the faculty. They raised tuitions.
Oh, no.
They sucked up to donors and increasingly relied on federal grants to fund their scientific research. In other words, the government was paying for science for the past few decades. And they cut costs. Most seriously by hollowing out the faculty. Today, somewhere between 70 and 75% of all instruction is in the hands of contingent faculty members. People who hold part-time or temporary contracts. These people are without tenure or the expectation of it. They have little job security, and as a result, they have no academic freedom. They can be fired.
Dang.
But there was...
I mean, it kind of seems to me, guys, that eliminating college tenure might be a talking point that would be worth considering, because it kind of seems as though tenure is basically protecting a lot of commies from being able to say and do whatever they want. So can't we just eliminate tenure at taxpayer-funded universities? Can't Trump sign an executive order right now that no taxpayer-funded, no university will get federal money unless they eliminate tenure protections for faculty? Am I being crazy? Trump is the president of the United States. In theory, we control Congress. Why can't Trump write an executive order right now saying no more federal funding unless you eliminate tenure protections for these communists that have been teaching left-wing bullshit at colleges for decades? Why are we paying these people to teach college students to overthrow the fucking government? And the government is paying them to do it. But no, guys, we got to go after Neverroy Singham and the CCP, which isn't even a real thing that's funding the far left. We can't go after the tenure protections that are keeping them in these university taxpayer-funded jobs forever and ever and ever. We can't do that. We have to go over the mysterious, we have to go after the mystical fucking CCP funding that isn't even real based on their own data.
Little attention within the mainstream during these past few decades to all of these structural changes. It was going on, but nobody was pushing back. And then it got worse.
Uh-oh.
In 2020, at the end of his first term, Trump sort of jump-started the present massive attack on higher education. It had been going on before, here and there, and you knew certain things you weren't supposed to talk about, like Palestine. But he targeted, I think it was training in
No,
DEI
they will not. No.
within the federal.
You're thinking of Stalinism. This is not Stalinism. That's a common conservative mistake because you guys don't actually listen to them in real life.
Government in the fall of 2020. During his presidential campaign, he lost the election.
That is not Emma Goldman.
But his
Do not
campaign
besmirch Emma Goldman.
continued at the state level, especially in the state legislatures like Texas and Florida, where Ron DeSantis thought he was going to be the golden boy of academic repression. Red state legislatures enacted so-called educational gag rules. They tended to focus on racism. They tended to focus on teaching about racism or about sexuality, and the less than glorious past of American history. And initially, universities complied with most of these measures. They would cancel classes. They forced departments to revise their curricula. They didn't protect their students or faculty from these doxing attacks that occurred if people were too outspoken, and certainly didn't fight back. In fact, they hired consultants, which they do to this day, from within corporate law firms, anti-union law firms, and the like. And especially after the Hamas attack of October 7th, 2023, provoked student demonstrations against Israel's genocidal behavior in Gaza. They cracked down on student political activities. But unlike during McCarthyism, where there was no pushback, today we're beginning to see some resistance. And that's the biggest difference I see between now and then. And there is resistance. You're all here. We couldn't have had it. I mean, I've lived through the 50s. We couldn't have had a meeting like this then. Nobody would have come. Nobody would have sponsored it. But today, there is resistance. There's litigation. There's lots of it. I haven't done the research, but I know there are probably several hundred lawsuits underway. The AAUP which I am a member of, its main academic freedom committee, I know is carrying on at least 8 lawsuits. And the ACLU, which refused during McCarthyism to protect anybody accused of communism, is sort of overwhelmed with dozens of them. The AFT, the NEA, Harvard is suing, the University of California is suing, the Center for Constitutional Rights, FIRE, the Foundation for Individual Rights and Expression, which is somewhat questionable in some areas,
FIRE?
is also
No
suing the Trump
shit.
administration.
So the classical liberals betrayed us for the commies, of
Association
course.
Universities, which is
Of course they did.
A collective body of all the, I think it's 72 or 3 presidents of the nation's largest and most important research universities is suing. The ACLS is suing. The MLA is suing. The AHA is suing. I mean, you know, the legal system is being employed and is going to continue to be employed no matter what happens. And it's very, very important, even if maybe when it reaches the Roberts Court, we don't prevail. But by then, knock wood, other things will have changed the American political scene as well. But specifically important is that faculties are more active. They're voting no confidence with regularity. which sort of validates the old union statement, saying that the most important organizer within the labor movement is the boss. And they usually become mobilized in the face of something like what happened to Tom Alter. And we're seeing that over and over again. They're organizing new groups, they're strengthening old ones, and searching for coalitions. The word everybody's using the word coalition within higher education. And some of these organizations are even articulating more ambitious goals, agendas than just the preservation of academic freedom. I mean, they're beginning to talk about free higher education for all, forgiveness of student loans, and there are groups, organized groups, that are pursuing those agendas. So this is all very important. And I can see it. I've been active in the AAUP for several decades, I guess, and I've seen an enormous change. In sort of my first book, which I wrote about McCarthyism in higher education, I discovered that the AAUP did nothing during McCarthyism. I mean, literally nothing. They didn't take any public action or intervene in any cases between 1947 and 1956, the height of McCarthyism. The AAUP was completely out of the picture. Even as about 100 mostly tenured professors were fired and blacklisted, and we don't have a full accounting of it. We never will. Now I can sort of run through the next few decades. There was so much turmoil in the 1960s that, professors were being fired, but they were also being rehired because there was so much expansion. So that without a blacklist, firing people isn't really as effective as it could be. And this was very important. This helped make the 60s movement actually sort of get
You just ordered a
energized
McCarthy shirt?
because people weren't taking the kind of risks
taking
people
on
are
a girl.
taking now. But people are taking more risks now. And the AAUP has changed almost completely. It's now with a new set of leaders for the past 2 years that has an activist agenda rather than a reactive agenda. They're looking, they see a problem, and then they write a report and try to help people figure out the best ways to do this. They're actively recruiting on campuses. They're growing for the first time in decades. And it's, part of a movement. We're here. We're in the beginning of a movement. We're not very far along, but there are new organizations. There's HELU. I don't know if you've heard of it. Higher Education Labor United, which is seeking
another union,
all academic employees as workers within a single union, unit that needs to gain power within campuses and to eliminate the barriers between different groups and units. There are also activist groups within the disciplines, like my own group, Historians for Peace and Democracy, and the Radical Caucus within the MLA, which I'm sure some people here probably know about, that are bringing resolutions to national meetings. And I used to think that was sort of silly, but it isn't silly because it's educational. It's bringing attention to issues. I mean, we in HPAD got people to talk about Palestine. It was being shoved under the rug and we got it discussed. So, now people don't really like Israel so much anymore.
Well, thank God for small favors. Commies do right things every once in a while.
And one group that's really quite adorable are the alumni. They're beginning to become active. At my own alma mater, I'm embarrassed to say Harvard.
Harvard. Harvard.
I have had a 65th reunion. I'm very old, by the way. I had a 65th reunion about a year ago. And I thought, wouldn't it be cool to have some kind of activity? This is pre-Trump in the White House, at maybe just a sign saying Harvard, support academic freedom or something. But I didn't have a chance. They were already organized. And they called themselves Crimson Courage. And what I particularly liked
Crimson
was among these
Courage?
people, they were all sort of the class of like 68, 69, 70. They'd been there before, done that, and they were doing it. But they began to expand, and they expanded to alumni groups elsewhere. And at the most recent, I saw their website recently, they had said that they were in many schools with organized units, and they listed some 13 very big name schools on their website with wonderful names. The one I loved was Longhorns for Liberty.
Longhorns for
That's
Liberty.
the University of Texas, Austin. And the Wahoos for UVA at the University of Virginia. So, there is stuff going on. And they have organized, this group is called Stand for Campus Freedom. And they're getting money. And alumni are saying, I'm never going to give any more money to my alma mater until you begin to stop repressing your students and keep ICE off the campus, et cetera, et cetera. We know the demands. But there's also things people can do as individuals. I mean, we've been talking a lot about solidarity, but you don't need solidarity to write a book. And a bunch of us have been writing books. This is one of the most recent ones that just came out. I'm not sure. What's the pub date?
January.
Now it's out. You can buy this right here. It's called In the Spirit of H. Chandler Davis. If in my book about academic freedom and McCarthyism that's now 40 years old, H. Chandler Davis was the hero. And he was somebody who went to prison for trying to take the First Amendment and defending free speech before the House Un-American Activities Committee, went to prison, then went to the blacklist and ended up in Canada. But it's a wonderful book that contains essays about academic freedom in the spirit of H. Chandler Davis. And we have one of the editors here. You want to get up and say hello? This is Melanie Tinellian from the University of Michigan. This is where he was.
Okay, we're going to fast forward a little bit, Grandma. Okay, we're going to fast forward because,
they educate, and they educated themselves.
We got a time
learned
constraint.
A little bit more than your average citizen about Vietnam, and began to hold teach-ins to educate their students, their colleagues, local citizens, about what was going on in Vietnam and why it had to be opposed. And it took years. This anti-war movement took 10 years. It's very important to realize that. But it succeeded. It turns out, and there's some recent scholarship about this. I wouldn't be a legitimate academic if I didn't cite some bibliography here. There's a book that's coming out this year. I don't know if it's out yet or not because I was sent an early manuscript.
Let's fast forward through Grandma a little bit because she's going on a little bit long. I want to get to the Q&A. We still got a bunch of stuff to watch. We do have Disenraged coming up in about an hour. So I skipped out on Jennifer last week, so I want to make sure we do Disenrage this week. So let's we're gonna speed it up a little bit just to see how much we can get through.
Good
Next
evening.
speaker, Black Lady.
Again, I'm Valerie Johnson.
Hi, Valerie.
I'm a professor of political science at DePaul University, as well as
DePaul.
associate provost for diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I'm pretty sure many of you are like, "What diversity? What?" But we're still hanging on. I've been asked to talk. Oh, okay. I've been asked to talk to you a bit about the impetus for this book that, again, Ellen, myself, and our colleague Jennifer Ruth put together. But I wanted to riff for a second, though, on something that Naomi was talking about, which is so very important, and that is building organizational capacity. Rarely, if ever, is anything done alone or by individuals, right? You know, when you look at the formula for political change, there are three basic factors, organizational capacity being one of them, but also a moment of opportunity. And if there ever was a moment of opportunity, this is it. I mean, this is the moment. And we could ill afford anyone sitting on the sidelines, just pontificating and complaining like I do every single day. But you know, because it is hard. This moment is very hard. I just, after 31 years of teaching political science, teaching on race and inequality, I literally could not have imagined this moment. I really didn't realize, well, I should have, because political scientists will tell you only 4 to 5% of people protest anything. Normally, you know, people just kind of trudge along. They think of their own, you know, their own failures as just something that is individual. They rarely realize that it is part and parcel of an oppressive system.
Oh, capitalism!
So this is definitely a moment of opportunity for us. The third is perhaps just as critically important, and that is consciousness, a change in consciousness, right? Again, most people just kind of trudge along and they don't realize that what is occurring with them is part and parcel of a system, if you will. And so as H. Rap Brown said many years ago, free your mind and your ass will follow. Okay. And so it is not only incumbent upon us to free our minds by learning more information. And that is why, you know, books like the Chandler Davis book, this book are really, we considered it an act of resistance. When Ellen, myself, and Jennifer Ruth came together. We came together in 2021, summer of 2021, working with Kimberly Crenshaw's organization, the African American Policy Forum, because it was like creeping on us, all of these different education gag orders that
Kimberly Crenshaw invented the concept of intersectionality for people who don't know.
Were occurring mainly in the South. And so we wanted to sound the alarm. And so we started what was referred to as, at the time, the Faculty Senate campaign, because we felt that faculty had to be on the vanguard of this new movement, right?
The vanguard,
clearly,
you say,
the right
communist?
was winning the social media war,
vanguard.
the culture war, if you will. You know, just sort of antagonizing and vilifying all acts of identity, from race to sexual identity to even disability, certainly national origin. And so we saw this trend. And so we thought that if we could get faculty senates or faculty councils to just say no, to say to their respective administrations that essentially we're not going back, right? And so it was about 80 universities, colleges and universities that we had to pass reaffirmations of academic freedom and resolutions. I was really happy that DePaul University, my university, was the first one. And so we said to administrators across the country, you know, if you say, in fact, that you defend academic freedom, then here's your opportunity to do so. From there, because, you know, it was very difficult, the bandwidth, we just didn't have the bandwidth to continue that sort of university by university fight. And so we decided to put together this book. And it's, you know, each chapter is written by people from AAUP. Well, Irene Mulvey, the
Union.
president of AAUP at the time,
That's
she wrote
AAUP is the American Association of University Professors.
the forward. We have people from Penn America,
Pretty sure.
education unions, people from contingent faculty organizations, even 3 deans talking about the impact on schools of education. And as Ellen mentioned, my chapter deals with, again, the epistemology of ignorance, the way of learning ignorance. And that is why it's so important for us to each one teach one, because when you look at how information is passed down in the United States, it really is learned ignorance. And so we recognize that if we did not confront that ignorance and, say loud and clear that this sort of erasure of history was all about keeping people ignorant, and therefore, sacrifice, laying the groundwork for a sacrifice of individual freedoms and rights. And you could see that happening every single day, just like with the murder a couple of days ago of Renee Good. How could you forget a name like Good? But Renee Good. I mean, if you look at the presentation, this morning I started out before watching Democracy Now! With the Fox News. And you look at the presentation, they would have you to believe that this woman who was dedicated to protecting her neighbors, that she somehow deserved to be killed, right? And there are people, believe me, as I was looking at Fox News this morning, I'm like, this is just absolutely fascinating that so many people would, just you're talking about an act of erosion of just basic democratic rights, would believe that any act of protest was somehow illegal, right? And so it's happening.
When you try to run ICE agents over with your car, that is not an act of protest. That is trying to run ICE agents over with your car, madam.
Every day it's happening, and I think to a certain degree maybe we are we're just paralyzed, really, because we just could not imagine this happening in the United States, but it is happening. So it's time to take the blinders off and join an organization. I don't care which organization it is. I am pretty certain that we packed in this room are members of numerous organizations. Join the organizations, support the organizations, and more than anything, talk to people wherever you are, brighten the corner that you're in, and have conversations with people and try to reason with them. But most of all, get out in the streets. Sometimes I hear people say, oh, what does a protest do? Well, a protest, if nothing more, it sounds the alarm. It says to those people who are trudging along thinking that this is just the nature of things, it says to them that you are not alone and that others are feeling this too. So if nothing more than just to sound the alarm, please, 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 when you hear of... So
there you go, conservatives. Every time you ask me, every time there's a big leftist protest and you come in and ask me, what's even the point of this? They don't know what they're trying to do. No, they do know what they're trying to do. They are trying to sound the alarm to get other people to come over to their team so they can continue to grow the protests.
Rallies and organizations, get out in the streets. And even though you may look at your relatives and friends who are MAGA and say, okay, they're hopeless, begin to talk to them, because believe me, every single day that goes by is lighting the fire, because they're becoming intimately aware that that MAGA is not for them. This is a sort of capitalist, racist, homophobic, xenophobic, etc. Attempt to just strip us all of our rights. And if we're not talking with one another, all we're doing is fanning the flames of division. And so remember those 3 factors. Organizational capacity. You have to be plugged into an organization. This is the moment of readiness. I mean, I've never in my 64 years seen it like this. And believe me, over the years, I've complained about and protested a lot of things, but I've never seen it like this. And then third, again, political change in consciousness. And that is something that we all can be a part of, whether it's in the classroom or out of the classroom. One thing I just want to say about community education. Community education is so very important. One of the things that I really do not like about our title, the subtitle is Resisting the Right-Wing Attack on Academic Freedom. Most people are like, academic who? What's academic freedom? People have heard of free speech, but they do not understand that academic freedom is simply the right for academics to teach to their disciplinary expertise. Without that, democracy goes out the window, because if people are ignorant, then they are compliant, right? And so please, please, please do not be a bystander coming to talks like this and, you know, just going out the door touched, but not move to action, right? Please do not do that. Please be a part of those three factors that really impact change. And last word, as I was telling Ellen and those at dinner, this time around, the movement has to be a radical, not just a neoliberal movement, right?
Not
We talk
neoliberal.
about MAGA, we talk about the...
Neoliberal means Democrat, guys. This person is saying our movement cannot be a neoliberal movement. Our movement cannot be a Democrat movement. It cannot be a liberal movement. It cannot be a progressive movement. It has got to be a revolutionary movement.
Dinner. This time around, the movement has to be a radical, not just a neoliberal movement, right? We talk about MAGA, we talk about the right, but it's the left too. Right?
Oh!
It's really time for us to stop with a sort of moderate tone and really this time fight for wholesale change and understand that that we're, you know, every single person, there are a multitude of identities represented in this room, and each of them are important and deserving of basic human rights. With that, thank you.
How many people in the room have heard something about the fascist takeover of New College of Florida? Just a show of
I
hands,
fucking wish it was taken over by fascists.
This audience knows what's going on. Okay, well, I just want to take a few minutes to tell a story of a college that went from being the college where Bell Hooks was a scholar in residence teaching in the gender studies program to a college that now is going to be the first campus in the country to have a Charlie Kirk statue.
Oh no!
It's a campus where
there were no
grades.
no!
You had narrative evaluations for students, senior theses, areas of concentration where students really dug in on a project. A way that when I taught there felt like, how could you teach in any other way? Students not wanting to talk to you about their grades and haggle over a grade, but wanting to talk to you about what their project is, what their ideas are, how well they're explaining it, how well they're understanding it, what else they need to understand, not thinking about grades at all. Having no thought of that. And it was a transformative experience. Makes me feel like I would never want to teach in a place that has grades again. I wouldn't even know how to do it anymore. To a place that now, as Ellen said, there were 9.
Grades are a reflection of capitalism because grades are oppressive, because grades create hierarchies. That's why they want to get rid of grades.
Campuses that...
Grades are about making sure students conform to be good workers rather than pure academic pursuit or whatever.
Refused the Trump compact. There was one campus that voluntarily went forward with putting in place the Trump compact to get preferential treatment on federal funds. That's the New College of Florida, right? The only school in the country to do that.
Not that.
So this school has transformed. I was a visiting professor of history there from the fall of 2022 to the spring of 2023. The fall of 2022, I was enamored with the place. Amazing students, faculty that were doing really great work. Had built an institution, I think, to be replicated across the country. And on January 6th, that date I don't think was a mistake. It wasn't an accident. It wasn't a coincidence. On January 6th, 2023, Ron DeSantis announced that he was instituting a majority control on the board of his minions, taken from around the country, a who's who of the ghoul show of the right-wing dream of remaking education, headed by Chris Rufo, if you follow his scary work, but many other people in that cohort. I won't go through all of them, but we could.
Not nearly as scary as it could be.
Who then proceeded to fire the president of the university, to fire the only DEI officer on campus, who did a lot of work beyond that, helping students and faculty with grant writing and work that brought millions of dollars into the school. Fired her without any process. Fired the chief librarian, who was the main researcher with students, helping them access information at the library. And then over the course of that spring, denied tenure to a group of 6 assistant faculty going up for tenure. So it's essentially shots fired to remake the college very quickly. And I was a visiting faculty with along with another visiting faculty member who had been there for a year, who also happened to go to the same graduate program I was in. So we met there in Florida, and we decided that one of the things that students needed in this moment was access to history, that actually history is a powerful tool. And so we proceeded to research and write an article about how Black Studies was won nationally, about how the gender studies program was won at that campus. It wasn't given by anyone, it was demanded by the students. About how the Vietnam War was ended through a mass movement, and what happened on that campus, the student strikes, the faculty strikes, trying to give a sense of what it was going to take to fight back. And we published it. We wanted to publish it in a place where we thought students might actually read it. And so we published it online in what we thought was going to be a small outlet that nobody would really, none of these academics would pay attention to. It was Teen Vogue.
Teen Vogue.
And
Teen Vogue is a completely communist publication, by the way.
Unfortunately, Chris Rufo, because his name was there, I'm sure, got wind of it
true,
and tweeted that good thing that we were visiting faculty because we weren't going to be there much longer. So again, the shots were fired, and the whole spring there was an amazing movement led by students. I think important to say that students have really been the heartbeat of movements, as Tom said, for his own case, really out there for 5 days after Tom was fired, relentless, really didn't allow any space for there to be anything else talked about, right? It's like, this has to move forward. It's the same thing at New College. You had students leading the charge, along with alumni, actually, along with the community. It was a small enough community that New College really mattered to the community, does still matter in a lot of ways. And the faculty, were slow to respond, if we're going to be honest about it. Not all of them, for sure, but the majority of them. And I think that is one of our, something that we have to shift, and we have to all help to shift. But I think taking a lead from students in particular, who understood that they had a stake here if they wanted to learn what they wanted to learn, right? They had chosen to come to this school. They had chosen their areas of concentration, and they were going to fight to make that space their own. And so I think there's a lesson there for us to follow, both what students are doing, but also to stand up and fight, and not you can't hope to sort of back away from a fight. You can't hope that it'll go away. I'm less confident than Ellen. I think that I think there is a fight back for sure, but I think we're about to get in a much worse situation in the coming years. I think there's going to be a lot more Tom Alters out there.
Yeah.
I hope there's a lot more, a lot more of the way that people have organized his defense campaign. But I think there's going to be a lot more firings. There's going to be a lot more intimidated people. And I think we have a responsibility, whether you're on a campus or you're in a community
We have a responsibility to intimidate as many communist faculty members as possible. This is our charge, guys. No one else is doing this shit. We are the only ones. We have a sacred goal and obligation to scare these people into shutting the fuck up and going away. Otherwise, we will keep recording their communist, Antifa, terrorist, overthrowing the government asses. We will keep recording them and putting their exact words on the internet until they learn to shut the fuck up and go away. And if they don't learn the lesson, we will get you fired from your job. We will start a social media campaign against you. You guys think you can do letter writing shit and pressure campaigns with all your unions? I've already beaten you once. I'm going to bring even more people with me next time. And the time after that, and the time after that, and the time after that. 1 in the chat if you're with me, 2 in the chat if you're on their side.
To UIC or next to the University of Chicago, or if you're at Northwestern where Stephen Thrasher was summarily fired, it's not just a question of Texas and Florida. This is happening across the country. It's happening at CUNY in New York City. It's happening everywhere. It's not a Southern problem. It's New School. It's Northwestern. It's all over. So I think you can also adopt a campus, right? You can make good with students and faculty and staff at campuses, because it's going to be a long fight, and we're going to need campaigns like the one to defend Tom. If you haven't joined the Defend Tom Alter campaign, you should join. You should talk to Bill. Nancy Rosenstock, put your hand up. There's going to be a lot of people around. You should join the campaign. We're going to be putting him on tour. He'll be back in Chicago in March. We have a lot of work to do, and we can learn from this campaign for the next one, for the faculty that might get fired at local campuses. Because if we don't fight back, right, then this is going to continue and it's going to get worse. So I don't want to take more time. I want to hear from people in the audience.
Eric.
So I'll pass it back over to Bill. Right on, Eric.
Game
All right.
on.
So, obviously incredible presentations that have just touched the tip of the iceberg in terms of what we could talk about tonight. And we're really grateful, again, that folks are here, that you're standing, that you're listening, that you're engaged. It's so critical. So we want to, for sure, have some discussion tonight.
It's not really a question, but I kind of want to speak because I have a lot of things to say.
Kid. Child. Kid.
Can I speak through the microphone?
Yeah.
So, hi, my name is Aiden. I am 8 years old. And for the editor making the video, please blur out my face, because the things I can do, the things. So,
as a reminder, it is not true that communists abort all their kids. Oftentimes, they raise them to be good little communists from the time they are in elementary school by bringing them to socialist events with them.
I'm going to talk about Palestine first, and then I'm going to talk about the stuff going around with the campuses and all of that. So, I am pretty much related to Palestine, and a few years ago, I actually went to a big protest in Northwestern. I think it was at the football field in there. And then it was really big. I did a lot of stuff, and I have a lot of hope that Palestine will win. And with everyone here and how our team is growing, and more people are joining Palestine. If we work together and if we are determined to do it, we can eventually make Palestine free.
Guys, do you see what they're doing? They're letting the 8-year-old practice. The adults in the room are encouraging the 8-year-old to get up and give communist speeches and do communist organizing. It's not like the 8-year-old even knows really what he's saying. It's not as though he's saying anything, like that he hasn't probably learned from his parents, but he's practicing getting up in front of a crowd, and listen to that encouragement. The whole room is now cheering for him, getting all sorts of positive recognition. This kid's going to want to go back there and do this again and again and again and again and again. This is how communist organizers are made. This is it right here. They have the training ground for it. And they're all being so nice and so patient and so encouraging because they know what they're doing.
All right. So after the meeting, to join Team Palestine, Aiden's your man. All right. That was amazing, man. Thank you.
That was amazing.
Another question over
amazing
here.
work. I'm nowhere near that cute. But so we were just talking about Chris Rufo specifically. And one of the things that Chris Rufo just did was release a guide to a YouTube video guide on how to entrap and take down and break the infrastructure of anti-fascists. So that's a YouTube video. I don't know how to access it or give it to you all without giving him views, but it definitely has everything everybody was talking about up here and more. So they were talking about like going after the organizations that even fund the schools, or the payment processors that will take donations from all of us, and things like this. So I think that's kind of like a canary in a coal mine situation, where sometimes people like that will tell on themselves and give their own playbook away. So I'm wondering if any of you have seen other examples of that, especially recently, where someone just kind of gives all the information out there and then we can take it. Yeah, definitely. But even like individual content creators.
By the way, this is what we're doing with them, by the way. This is what we're doing with them. What this woman just said, can we find people on the right to watch to take all their information? Hi, commies. Hi. You think Rufo's your biggest enemy? Rufo is a massive Zionist-funded pussy. Rufo, when I'm done with you fucking freaks of nature, you are going to fucking wish you had to deal with Rufo. Rufo's off running his Zionist-funded fucking podcast where he's advancing all sorts of things. He's not even really interested. Commies, you want to know what the most pathetic part of this is? Christopher Rufo doesn't even know who the fuck you are. When I am done with you, when we have our fully blown new era of McCarthyism led by us, you will wish for the day that Chris Rufo was your greatest worry in the world. We are doing to them what they want to do to us, and that's why they're so fucking pissed off. Cynthia, so appreciate the channel memberships. Thank you so much for your ongoing generosity. Emerald squares in the chat for Cynthia, please.
Or things like feeds to watch, or that sort of thing.
Give us some feeds to watch.
Well, I'll just say that something you all know is that they're saying the quiet part out loud now. You know, I was just so fascinated.
Yeah, you guys
when
too.
Venezuela was attacked and its leader kidnapped, that Trump actually said it's about the oil. I mean, so there's no pretense anymore. The facade has been lifted, and so they are literally saying the quiet part out loud. I supported Kamala, not because I necessarily thought that the Democratic Party had something revolutionary to say or do, but because it would be just a lot better than Trump. I had flipped through Project 2025, so they broadcast to us what the hell they were going to do to us, and now they're doing it. And so I don't think that there's any more
it's
more
so
pretense.
Commies, you guys are getting off light. You think Project 2025 is the thing you have to be worried about? You're not ready for what's coming.
What is going on and the intent, and certainly authoritarianism is the intent. Just sort of
I fucking wish
late-stage
Rufo was an
capitalism.
authoritarian.
That is the intent. It's not about as they would tell us, CRT or this or that, EEI. It has nothing to do with it at all. And so all you got to do is read Project 2025. It's out there.
Hi, I see some of you here. Comrade here is an AHA member, the American Historical Association. Is anybody else here a member of the American Historical Association? Fantastic. So some of us know this, and I just want to make an announcement that the AHA has systematically for 2 years in a row undemocratically blocked membership initiatives to actually put resolutions to vote. This is resolutions regarding Palestine and resolution about academic freedom. So we were not demanding that you pass these resolutions. We were simply demanding that these resolutions be put to vote. And each time, the first time with the one sole power the executive had, which was veto power, they actually overturned a democratic meeting where over 90% of the people in the room voted to have that resolution put to vote, and they vetoed that. The second time around this year, they have done the same thing, which is we put forward 2 resolutions, and the Business Council and the powers that be decided that yes, they fulfilled all the legal requirements of the organization, but at the last minute, without informing why or how, they said that those resolutions could not be voted on. So what we are requesting every member of the AHA to do is flood the business meeting on Saturday at 5:15 to 6:30 at the Hilton Chicago room. It's the Continental Room ABC, to come to this business meeting and show your support, not just for Palestine, but the basic right to vote at a resolution in your own organization. So please come to this meeting.
Jennifer, we're still doing the show. We're going to be done in time. Don't worry, Jennifer. I'm going to get the stream set up. I'm going to send it over. Don't worry.
Saturday, if you are a member of a voting member of the AHA, and even if you are not, to make some noise. Free Palestine.
Yeah, free Palestine.
I think that I'm on the HPAD, that's the organization, Historians for Peace and Democracy steering committee. And what we want to do is not give the powers that be that run the organization the pleasure of having us scream or demonstrate, but rather just with our numbers. We are going to win, and we're going to win even though these people are subverting all pretense of democratic educational rights. And I think that it's more important.
Yo, lady, you just told us no nuance, no context, and that you were going to do all this shit to us too. So I know you're old and I know you're Grand Tifa and all that stuff, but we heard you say it. We don't owe you anything. We don't owe you kindness. We don't owe you consideration. We don't owe you anything. You are our ideological enemies. If you win, we all lose and we all starve. So
to get those resolutions passed. So because that's really speaking truth to power, and we're going to get power, and that's the way to do it. Thanks a lot.
We're going to get power, and that's the way we're going to do it. Okay.
I tell you how
fine.
thrilling it is.
Game on.
This much electricity in this room, and know that it goes on day after day after day. Here in Chicago, I'm in New York, and it goes on day after day in New York too, and it's going everywhere. I do believe that we are going to win.
I believe that we will win. I believe that we will win.
Another question.
Hi. So I'm a grad student right now. It's not the best time, honestly, and I'm doing library science. So
librarians.
I was wondering, with the panel, with all your experiences and stuff like that, what is like the role that you can see grad students doing on their campuses, and what's their role in like organizing? My campus doesn't have a union right now. It's a private university, unfortunately, but I was just kind of wondering what you guys think grad students can do in organizing on their campuses.
Oh, I see. I guess my question is, how do we defend ourselves against the right in our cities, like when they try to come to our meetings? Just so people should be aware, there was a group of 6 people here sitting in the back from Flip Chicago Red. And the only reason I recognize them is because they were protesting outside my union this past week. And this is like a right-wing MAGA group. And so they're confident, they're killing people in the streets or invading other countries. They're confident coming to meetings like this. And like, God knows what they're doing, just recording it, I would imagine, for their boost their likes on their Facebook page.
You don't say.
Their project is. But like, clearly what happened to Tom was related to a MAGA person infiltrating a leftist meeting. So how do we...
No, asshole. You will not besmirch me. I would never lower myself to be a fucking MAGA person. Are you shitting me? God, I'm getting them fired from their jobs. These people give me no respect. They give me no fucking respect. I didn't vote for Trump. Fuck Trump. W's Deeds, thank you so much for the 5 gifted channel memberships. So appreciate you, bro. Yeah, we are not MAGA, you fucking commie retards. We are fascists. We are the fascists that you think Trump are. How dare you besmirch us and our desire to bring in a new era of McCarthyism that makes all of you afraid for your jobs all the fucking time. If Trump wasn't such a feckless fucking coward, I wouldn't be necessary. Please, MAGA. Please.
Like clearly what happened to Tom was related to a MAGA person infiltrating a leftist meeting. So how do we as activists, to the best that we can, protect ourselves from these kind of infiltrations and spying operations?
Yeah, how are you guys going
So
to
this is a
protect
question mostly
yourself?
for Tom, but what advice would you have for another faculty member at a state Texas university?
Hypothetically.
Okay, I'll start. What to do in Texas?
What to do, Tom?
Join your union. Join your union. Now, that may sound odd in Texas, where public employees do not have the right to collectively bargain or go out on strike. And so I've been active in the Texas State Employees Union since I started as a lecturer at Texas State in 2017. It's near and dear to me. But for many people, it's just symbolic and a principled thing to do, because we don't have the power to withhold our labor legally. So, but it's through the defense campaign that we've waged.
We already
people
beat your
and
ass
how
once.
TSEU, thankfully, responded to it. People saw what a union can do, even without the legal right to collectively bargain and to strike. Union membership at Texas State in both the American Association of University Professors and the TSEU.
Yo, we got a super chat. Dietz, thank you so much for the super chat. Dr. Borysenko, professor, you are cooking with gas today. Chef's kiss. Thank you so much for this. Thank you so much for your support, Dietz. I appreciate you very much. Thanks for being here.
More than doubled since that time. And they see this, okay, we can't go on strike legally, but and trying to build towards that. We got to break some bad laws in order to get some good laws in place. So people have seen the defense campaign, and it's been building to be a part of that. And it's right now it's defensive action. This kind of builds on some other questions. It's defensive is why a lot of people are joining. But the thing is also we need to realize our own power, and that's what we need to build towards. We're building capacity right now and organizing and educating, but we need to get to that point when we see that we are the majority. We hold the power. It's our labor, no matter where you work, that makes everything work and makes everything run. And we have the power. And so it's right now, it's building that. It's the slow, steady stuff. It's increasing greatly at time, but we're forming the networks. Like just yesterday, I spent just someone that Bill connected me with at Texas Tech University, who had just joined the university. So sometimes it's those conversations of just the ones and twos. I've had people from the art department contact me and go and meet them. Like that. People in the biology department, which usually it's kind of been more the traditional liberal arts, but now people in the biology department are joining now as well. And so people are seeing what we can do. So it's also it's students as well. People need to realize our power. And that goes for graduate students as well. Join the union, build it. It's not easy. None of this is easy. That's part of where we're at right now. But there's more of us now. Look at this room right here. I mean, we're having similar things like this are starting to happen all over the country right now, even in small towns. So it's finding each other, connecting each other. And that's another thing too. There's also like Occupy helped raise a lot of class consciousness. And then now you see these struggles are connected organically. I mean, that's kind of in the traditional role laid out in the Communist Manifesto to connect the different struggles of the working class. That's happening on its own. We had an anti-ICE demonstration in San Marcos yesterday.
You don't say, Tom.
There's this, I'm here, but there's be a demonstration to hands off Venezuela, but it's morphing into also an anti-ICE rally. So these connections are strong, and that's what we're joining our struggles together. And so it's that finding this power, finding those networks. Also go back to the graduate students, finding those networks, finding the people that are with you, and building those long-lasting relationships. I always talk about those kind of building the capacity and building that sense of community, but also building that sense of power is what is really important.
Yeah, I'll say both to what to do in Texas. I was born and raised in Texas. I also used to teach at UT Austin, so and I escaped. Anyways, okay, so yeah, this is the thing. Like as a graduate student, I was a member of a union that was not recognized either, right? And it recently got recognition after decades, right? But the union still got the goods. Like I didn't have dental insurance until my last year, and then I went to the dentist and ended up paying thousands of dollars anyways because I didn't see a dentist for all that time. Do you know what I'm saying? But they got us dental coverage. They got health insurance for pregnancies and for the children that are born from those pregnancies. You know what I mean? So people were actually able to start families when they're in their prime reproductive years. Like all of this stuff counts, right? And so the university would never actually acknowledge that we're doing this in response to all the pressure, but they would still get it. And so there's still a lot of things that a union can do that even if they don't have the legal power to strike. Also, you guys, like the UCs had a wildcat strike that was not authorized.
You know what I'm saying? It's not like this has never happened before. You can still withhold your labor, but there's a lot of risk. So what are you going to do?
A lot of the unions don't have the technical legal ability to strike. So why isn't Trump going after people in these unions every time they go on illegal strikes? Because when they're going on illegal strikes, what they're trying to do is shut down the economy. So they should be fired from their jobs the minute they go on an illegal strike.
Mitigate that risk building up to it. What kind of like
or the union should be dissolved?
Are you going to have available for people who are not getting paid?
You break the law, we dissolve your fucking union. Go away.
But even if you're at a university where there is no grad student union, you can start one. You know, your sister is a labor organizer. I think she has tips. You know, like so there's things you can do. And like if it's not a union, if that kind of framework does not speak to your people, it's not meeting people where they're at, then start something else. Do you know what I mean? But the point is you have to do something. You know, this is why the radical bros are not useful. They don't do shit. They just complain about everything. Okay, so but there are things that you can do. The people out there are there, but you have to find them. So you have to create excuses for them to come to something. Do you know what I mean? So it's like get the people in the room, find the people find your people. That's going to be your first step. Right. And then, you know, if there are riskier things that you are going to try and do in a right to work state or something like that, then you have to build out the infrastructure to enable people to take risks. I think just telling people risk your job. OK, like that's not compelling to many people, you know, and it's also not recognizing people's like actual lived realities. OK, so like there is something meeting people where they're at. Like, I mean, it kind of falls flat, but there is something about understanding people's lived experiences and figuring out how do I communicate that this issue is actually their issue. And this is the thing. Our struggles have always been connected, but those connections are not obvious. And in fact, they are deliberately made obscure because capitalism has lots of tricks in its bag to divide us.
Oh,
so
yeah?
We have to do that work to make it so obvious that Venezuela, Palestine, and like Good's murder, and she's not the only one, by the way, are connected, right? Or, you know, to gentrification, whatever, like all of it is connected. The thing about risk assessment, I think that's a great question. I don't think it's solvable, frankly. I don't have a good answer either. My thinking of this on my own, this is just me popping off my own thoughts and feelings, is that I would rather be open than policing. I don't want to reproduce the structures that I'm trying to overturn, right? So we have community agreements around recording, around being ethical with like and responsible with information, and understanding that the people in this room or in this room and on Zoom all have different risk assessments. So you can't just, you need to practice some discipline, right? On our signal groups, I assume that there are people on there who shouldn't be, but that doesn't mean I'm going to police everyone and kick them out, right? So like we do have a kind of vetting process, like for our own rapid response group, for example, like we want to meet you first. Like we want you, that's why we ask people to do an activity with us so that we can just know who you are. You know what I'm saying? So it's not about like some hoop that you have to jump through. It's because we want to like have some kind of relationship, even just one time before we add you to this kind of high risk activity. But we also like talk a lot about like, you know, message discipline, right? So like you might be very well protected. You might be a cishet white citizen male with lots of money or something. I don't know what, but you're in the signal group, right? Just because you have all of that privilege and protection does not mean that other people do. And if you don't practice message discipline, you are making a choice for everyone else on that group. And so like, that's the kind of framework that we have. But like for me, I feel like there is more lost by policing each other than there is gained by removing a problem like an actual infiltrator. Do you know what I mean? And I feel like that just looking at movements in the past, especially revolutionary movements, it's more that destroys them. You know what I mean? The suspicion and the lack of trust. So again, the relationships, I like getting to know you. I feel like I know who you are as a little bit, at least as a person. That makes a big difference. And trust is earned little by little with each encounter, right? So I think that's why getting really local has been more helpful for me. And it's been where I've been able to do, I think, more impactful work. I also do stuff with these national organizations. And like the relationship building part is much harder. You know what I mean? Because I don't see you, or we don't see each other. We don't get to know each other. So I think like building trust is a long, complicated process. And it doesn't solve the problem that you just introduced. But I think, yeah, I don't have a good solution. These are just my thoughts. Okay, thank you.
That was great, Amy. Thank you. We need to bring this to, unfortunately, to an end. And we wanted to do a couple of housekeeping things before we do. But let me make a request for three rounds of applause. One for our speakers. One for Andy Thayer, our videographer, and one for Pilsen Community Books one more time. I got a couple of things to say, but we got to say one more thing again. Eric, where are you guys moving and when? And where can people start buying books from you?
Okay.
Just quick.
Let me see if Tom talks again. I want to see if Tommy talks
right. And he stood up and said that, and they took his livelihood. They took his dream. This man's been dreaming of being a labor historian his whole life, and they took his.
Are she talking about Tommy?
Nancy. If you'd like Tom to come to your campus, you want to see Tom speak, please talk to Nancy.
We took his
that's
life
going to be an
and his
amazing
livelihood,
event.
guys.
Last thing is I wanted to let my comrade and friend Kim Gasper Raybuck, who's part of the committee to defend Tom Alter, make a pitch for something that we've been working on. And
Kim runs Socialist Horizon. So that's another person we recorded at the Revolutionary Socialism Conference was Kim. Yep.
On Tom's behalf. So Kim, I'll give it to you.
Hey, comrades.
Cry, Kim. Cry. Cry, baby.
Tom
Cry.
is one of the first people to pay, right? One of the first people to stand up and say that we need socialism. We need a different kind of society. We all deserve to have enough food to eat and a decent house, and we deserve to have health insurance, and we deserve to go to college, and we deserve all the things, right? And he stood up and said that, and they took his livelihood. They took his dream.
We took his dream.
Dreaming of being a labor historian his whole life, and they took his dream. And he's got children, and he's got a wife, and he's got a mortgage, and he's got a big ass large number of government student loan, which he'd worked through most of, but now he's going to have to pay. Because, we work for a public university X number of years, and then, that cancels your debt. Well, that's over. There's no income. There's literally no income at Tom's house. The way we're going to build a movement is through solidarity and through love and through generosity and through kindness and through seeing each other as siblings. And Tom is our sibling. And what would we do for our sibling, right? So there's a GoFundMe. You can go to the GoFundMe. We haven't gotten... everybody got a piece of paper with the information about the GoFundMe. We haven't gotten to this. We'd like to have a year.
Yeah,
we don't know how long it's going to be before he gets a job again. It's almost been a year, right?
Stealing his
we'd like to be
dream.
able to, to support him for a little bit longer. So if you could go to the GoFundMe, if you're in the position to do $47 a month, 47 against 47, you get it. For as long as you can afford to, that's going to help him be able to pay his bills a little bit longer. We don't know how long it will take him to find another job, right? We know that academic positions for socialists are not right. Need I say more? If you don't do GoFundMe or you can't do GoFundMe, there's a gentleman named Farhad in the back corner there. He's got a bucket. You can stick your hand in your pocket. It'd be greatly appreciated. He loves all of you, and we love him. And thank you.
Well, I think that is an excellent moment to end on. My work stole the dreams of the communist. There is no one else who does what I do on the internet. Conservatives can whine and complain and meme all they want. There is no one that steals the dreams of communists, literally, like I do. When the conservatives went to go to that event that we just watched, they got kicked out because they were recognized. I go undercover with these people for days at a time at multiple events, well being the person that cost them their dream, and I still get away with it every single time, except for once. But I still got everything I needed at that one time. Dreams are not private property. Yeah, exactly. Is there anyone else who steals the dreams of communists like I do? One in the chat if I'm the very best person doing this on the internet and I am leading in the new era of McCarthy. 2 in the chat if someone's better at it than me. You guys tell me. We've been watching this and digging it apart for the last 3 hours. One in the chat if you think I'm the very best person doing this on the internet, stealing the hopes and dreams and livelihoods of communists, teaching at taxpayer-funded universities, calling to overthrow the government, being the first person since the era of McCarthy to get a college professor's tenure revoked for being a communist. 2 in the chat if there's someone better. If you think there's someone better, give me a fucking name because I want to talk to them. I want to thank everyone who donated 144 new channel memberships today. You guys are funding the next era of McCarthy. I so appreciate it. I want to thank everyone who sent in super chats. You guys help keep me independent from the political system because no matter how much the communists cry about me and say I'm a MAGA tard, I am nothing but. I do not work for the left. I do not work for the right. I certainly don't work for the Trump administration. Trump can suck my dick. Figuratively, of course. I am funded by you. I am funded by the people who want to see the next era of McCarthy be even more severe than the last era of McCarthy. And we cannot do that when we are obligated to kiss the asses of the Republicans or the MAGA-tards or the influencers and the pundits. We have to keep this independently funded. And so I so appreciate everyone who donates channel memberships, everyone who signs up on my Substack, everyone who buys merch in my merch store, everyone who sends in super chats. You guys make this all possible. I can't do it without you. I'm going to go take a short break. Jennifer and I are going to be doing Disenrage at 9 p.m. That's a little bit of a different show. It's not about politics. It's about spirituality and woo. We do it on Tuesday nights at 9 p.m. I got to go get that set up. But thank you guys for hanging out. I hope you guys come for Disenrage a little bit. We're going to talk about time, apparently. And if you don't want to do that, I will see you tomorrow. Take care, guys. We'll see you.
How are you feeling? How long have you been here? 3 months, May 17th. And what brought you? That's difficult to answer. how is it that playing the piano for people has eventually resulted in your being here in the hospital?
That's difficult to answer.